What's up, everybody? I'm excited about this thing that's going to happen right now. I am I was having some issues as normally, just crazy things happen, but we're going to be good. I am asking those of you who are on now if you would share it on your pages, on your timelines. I need to do the same because I believe I'm going live right now on YouTube and on Facebook, but I am not live on my regular Facebook page, which I will probably have to fix that at some point, but I'll fix that. Anyway, overcoming the man laws. This is going to be a conversation that is going to be uh, rich. I think that's the only word that I could think of. It's going to be rich. There are some individuals that are on this panel and that will be jumping in and out that I look up to, that will provide a level of clarity and the type of context that is needed as we walk through some of these things. Now, it's not going to be big. We're just going to give you a taste because there's some things coming down the road, but I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to bring these guys in. And we got some folk that are waiting. So let's bring some folk in. I'll bring them in one at a time. First, we got Stevie Burke. Stevie Burke, welcome.
Thank you, man.
Man, Stevie Burke, let me tell you something. At first, I was going to give folk the opportunity to introduce themselves, and you can say some things about you, but I told Stevie Burke this offline just now that Stevie Burke brings a perspective to life in general that is highly beneficial to me. I'm not going to go into how we met. I'm going to say it was happenstance, but it was God ordained. I know that we met in a scenario that normally would not foster the kind of relationship that we have fostered since then, but it is a blessing. So, Burke,
yeah, man.
30 seconds. Who are you?
I am Stevie Burke. I am originally from Gainesville, Virginia. I am the husband of Warren Peterson Burke. We had 3 daughters, one in Chicago, one is traveling all over the country. Another one lives close by and a son at George Mason University. And I love the idea of doing this. I love speaking to men. I'm man. I speak men. I speak man language. I don't speak woman. I speak man. And so I love sharing my journey with other men so they can avoid the pitfalls that I unfortunately fell in. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Good. And I'm glad that you're here with me. Let me throw on the next guy. This guy, Pierre Quinn. I'm not sure I have enough words to really articulate who Pierre is and the gift that he is to society. Smart guy. Let's just call it what it is. Intelligent, gifted, well-versed, articulate, strong ability to train and to lead and to who are you, Pierre? I'm just gonna stop talking.
Man, Ali, man, I feel like I should have paid you extra for
it's all good, man.
For that setup, man. Man, I realized early on, man, I had a gift of connecting great ideas to great people. And my mission in life right now, on top of being a husband and a father, is I help emerging leaders courageously begin the journey to personal and professional transformation. So all of that experience as a teacher, as a pastor, as a fundraiser, growing up in an entrepreneurial family, all of that combined with these gifts of connecting great ideas to great people is what I do. So I want to help emerging leaders, and I focus on emerging leaders specifically because I know what it's like to sit in the seat of responsibility for the first time and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then even being afraid, to ask people. And I know we'll get into that as it relates to the manhood journey as well. So, man, happy to be here and hang out with you guys.
I appreciate you, bro. This is going to be good. Let's keep it going. We got a couple of more people we're going to bring on. This guy right here, I was telling Stevie and Pierre before he jumped on that if I had the ability to process the way that this young man processes when I was his age, life would look very, very different for me right now. Jabron is we had the privilege of meeting, and he has been an inspiration to me. Now he's going to tell you, and I'm going to put words in his mouth. He's going to tell you that it was the other way around. That's what he's going to tell you. No. Who are you, sir? I appreciate you.
Well, man, first of all, I appreciate you too. I'm just Jabron, man. Like, I'm learning and navigating life as I see it. I am learning from men that enrich me, and I take that and use it to nurture my family. And that's literally the circumstance that Oliver and I met. And yes, I am going to say that it was a blessing to have met you at the time, the specific time that I met you. Other than that, man, I'm an IT dude. I have two wonderful children. I have a wonderful wife, and big on being the best I can, and making sure that as we continue to interact as a society, the people's voices that need to be heard are having the right ear speak to it. And so I'm a student of life, and I'm a student of great men, which is why I'm super excited to be here. So the more I learn from you guys, the more I can teach. And I think that's really the reason I wanted to be a part of this conversation.
Well, I appreciate you, and I know that there's some value that you're going to bring. I'm going to bring on two other guys real quick. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. These are some folk, man, that when it comes to the marriage space, right? So on the poster, those of you who saw the poster, you saw the three guys that are on the poster, but there will be some folk that will be jumping in and out of this conversation to help maybe take it to a next level, add some of the richness to it. But I got two guys here, man, Edward Smith and Jimmy Rogers. These guys are, I call them the marriage sons of thunder. Make some t-shirts, okay? And throw me like all I want is like 3%. You know what I mean? It won't even be an even 5. Just throw me 3%. But these guys are, all jokes aside, man, they in their respective ways are very influential as it relates to crafting, maintaining, and exhibiting healthy relationships. And so, starting with you, Jimmy, just say a little bit about yourself, and then Ed, go ahead and say something. I think you muted, Jimmy. Let me see.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep, got you.
Okay, great. I do appreciate, Oliver, the kind words, man. I don't know if I'm deserving of all of that, the son of thunder.
Absolutely, you are.
But anyway, man, yeah, my name is Jimmy Rogers, man. I am a person who has a calling and a mission to help marriages thrive. And I often tell people, just because that's my mission, it doesn't mean that I'm a master at it. I'm still learning, as Javari said. I'm a work in progress, but the one thing I have committed to was change. You know, whatever changes that need to be made to make me a better husband, a better father, or just I delve into doing that, and I try to help other guys do the same.
Nice.
Ed. What's up, everyone? What's going on? My name is Edward James Smith. I'm just an ordinary dude, man, from Jamaica, from the countryside of Jamaica. Migrate to this country, man, and call myself getting involved in something that I ain't got no business getting involved in at the time, because I was married, and because I did not understand what marriage was, you understand me, I ended up in divorce, and realizing the pain that came with divorce, I cried out to God and said, God, if you just gave me another chance, you understand me, I'm going to make it right, and so God gave me another chance, and now I'm married to my beautiful wife. We have 4 children together, and so I'm here just to talk about marriage, because I can talk about the messed up part of marriage, and I will never blame my ex-wife. I will blame myself because there's a lot of things that I was not doing. So as God download new information in me to make my marriage better, I'm just imparting it to men so that we can be better men.
I love it. I love it, man. And we're not gonna waste any time. As you can see, those of you who are watching, I got some heavy hitters. I'm blessed to have some heavy hitters on here, and just to for the comments, Tabby said the hills are on. That's what's up, Gary. My man Gary Jones, great supporter. Don live from New York is that's the signature when Don is in the place, right? We got some other folk joining us. RK3, that's me, my man. RK3, Felice, what's happening? Thanks for joining, guys. And this is going to be great. I got some guys in the back I'm going to bring them all on at once too. But before we do that, let's jump right in. All right. And I want to jump in with a question that I think will allow us to begin to move forward through this journey, through this conversation that we're going to have. And that question that I want to start with is when, and it's almost like a starting point, and then we're going to go backwards. So the question I want to start with is, when did the reality of manhood hit you? That particular instance or that time or that scenario or that circumstance where you were like, wait a minute, this is all me. Think about that for a second, and then anybody who wants to jump in, we're not going to keep it too formal. But when was that moment? And I can tell you, for me, there was a moment that I had. I went to school at Andrews University in Southwest Michigan, and there was a moment where I had to make some decisions that had financial implications, that had educational and academic implications, that had housing implications, and employment implications, right? And normally, under normal circumstances, I'd throw a phone call to Pops or be like, hey, this is happening. This is what I need, and none of that was available to me. And the decision that I made would essentially be a catalyst for everything else that happened afterward. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm on my own. What do I do?
How old were you
that
in
moment
that time?
where reality hit?
Oh, how old were you when that happened?
I was in my 20s. So let's call it 23-ish, 24-ish, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So, man, I'll take a swing at it first. So, Ali, we went to the same school. That's where we met. For a couple of years, I didn't even know you spoke. I just saw you at the piano on Friday nights and Saturday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
You just look like the dude not to mess with. But the school at Andrews after my sophomore year. So I had a tragic experience my sophomore year. My grandmother passed. And in many of our contexts, in African American context, the grandmother is the matriarch. She holds it down. And I tell people all the time, I went to church, I prayed, I got good grades, not for my parents, not for anybody else, not even for Jesus. I did it for my grandmother because she was such an important pillar in my life. And when she died, it was like a tailspin for me. So that second semester after her passing, I just didn't go to class anymore. I was just done. The emotional trauma, not having the language or tools at the time to kind of work through it. And then at the end of that second year of school, made the decision, two buddies and I, to drop out of school. So we packed up a U-Haul truck and we moved to Atlanta, Georgia. And I remember the next morning after moving into our apartment, waking up with no food in the refrigerator, with no furniture in the apartment, and thinking, whoa, okay, wow. This is a different life right now. And you got to wake up and be a man because you have just made some life-changing decisions that you're going to have to deal with. So yeah, that was the moment for me. I was 20. I was 20.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
20. I'm gonna bring this guy on as you guys think about that question. That Andrews University connection. I'm gonna bring on my brother Kevin Scott. This is my brother, Kev. And it's one of those guys where you can go through life with, right? And you can take some breaks, if you will, breaks in communication, breaks in circumstance. And then when you catch up, it's like there were no breaks, right? So I'm gonna bring him on. Think about the question. I got another guy I want to bring on that I respect a whole lot. And Pastor Bryson, put your camera on because I saw you pop in. I'll bring him in a second. But go ahead. Somebody else grab that. What was that period of time where reality of manhood just slapped you in the face?
I can share mine. So I was 19 years old. I went to North Carolina A&T State University, and it was my sophomore year. I decided not to go home. Wanted to stay, get me an apartment, had a job, and I was just beginning to really like, I guess, establish, kind of establish an identity at work. And I had a situation where a young woman got pregnant. She told me about it, and I had to go to homecoming that weekend because if you are familiar with North Carolina A&T, we have the absolute best homecoming in the world. And so I went and did the homecoming activities, and then over the next 4 days, I hadn't heard from her, and she called me back and said, don't worry about it. I was like, what you mean? What you mean, don't worry about it? And she was like, yeah, you weren't ready. I wasn't ready. And so I terminated it myself. And so for me, and this ain't a story I share a lot. So Mom, if you listening, just, whatever, we'll talk about it later. But what happened for me in that moment was that there was someone who did not trust the man in me enough.
Oh man. Yeah.
To say that I would commit to making sure that this child would be taken care of. And what I took away from that was that there would never, ever be another time when somebody looked at me and said, nah, you couldn't handle what your responsibility is. And so from that moment forward, I decided very consciously to make sure that who I am, the fiber of who I am, because I was raised in the church. I have a very good very strong relationship with Jesus, but I wasn't representing who that was. And until it was brought to my attention that I was not enough in that moment, and I wasn't living up to who I was taught to be, I was like, ooh, well, that can't ever happen again, because I know who I am, and I know I would have taken care of that child, but what I presented was not what she needed in that moment. And going forward, that was my number one motivation. It was, you make sure that when somebody interacts with you, they understand whose you are and who you are. If they don't understand that, then you are misrepresenting yourself, and you're misrepresenting what you were brought to this world to do, and that's to breathe life. And so that was when the reality hit me early in life, 19 years old, but told that you weren't enough. And that did it for me.
I like, for me, I think turning 18 and graduating from high school, and my standards and my father's standards collided. And he decided, this is my house, so you and your standards got to go. And he moved me out into somebody else's apartment and said, this is where you're going to be living, and you got a job with them. I'll see you later.
Wow.
And dropped me off and left me.
How old were you?
18.
18. Okay.
And I think I realized at that moment that, man, if this is what manhood looks like, I am unprepared. And so I began to prepare myself for manhood. And it took a while to gather myself, to realize that going from a son to a man is a rough journey. And so I had to prepare myself for that journey. And it's taken 64 years, because I'm 64 now, to be on the journey, to realize I'm still not there. So it's been one of those situations, man, where you realize manhood is ever evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so we never can settle in where we are right now as a man, because tomorrow will ask something else of you. And if you don't recognize it's there, then you'll be without.
Mm.
Right.
Wow.
For me, real quick stories told of a young man who loved playing basketball. Sorry, baseball. You know, and he has a passion for it, and he played it very well. You know, and but his dad was a very busy young man. You know, at the time, and so he kept asking his dad to come and watch him play. You know, and but his dad never came because he's always busy doing other things. It so happened that one day he's playing this very special game, very important game, and he really wanted his dad to be there, and his dad promised him that he would have been. Um, but as the game as he played and the game continued, he kept looking up in the bleachers for his dad. You know, and now the game is about to end, and and the story's told that you know somebody hit the ball, and you know, and if he catches the ball, his team would have won because the game would have ended. And so he's right under the ball, and everyone knew that he's gonna catch the ball because he was that good. And he stayed under the ball, and he says, I got this." And for a quick second, he took his eyes off the ball and looked in the bleachers to see if he sees his dad. And by the time he got back on the ball, he dropped the ball. What I'm here to say that you know a lot of us are still looking for our dad in the bleachers. A
Mm.
lot of us grew up without a father. I happen to be one of them. Grew up without a father. I'm still looking for my dad in the bleachers. You know, and statistics tells me that because I grew up without a dad, I need to do what my dad did. You know, and don't be family oriented and stuff like that. You know, and so at a tender age of about 18, 19, you know, I tried the life thing and moving out of my parents' home and saying that I'm going off to college and things just did not work out and I became homeless. But I was determined that I was not going back home, you know. And at that moment, God and I had a real conversation. And God says, listen, me, young man. You are about to face life, but you can't do it without me. You never had a dad. You have no one to model your life after, but you're going to have to depend on me. And it was at that moment I learned to depend even more on God so that I was able to navigate
How old were you when
18, 19.
18, 19? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to something you said later on in the conversation. I brought on good friend of mine, a guy I respect heavily, the good pastor, Dr. Maurice Bryson. Dr. Ard, I'm coming for you next, so put your camera on. I'm going to bring you on as well. But Dr. Bryson, thank you for taking a moment to come in, man. We're talking about the reality of manhood, and that moment might have been more than one, because we'll get to this later on in the conversation. There was an awakening that I had even past that moment that I described, that was on a very, very different scale, based on some very, very different circumstances, that had to catapult me into a level that was even higher than the one that I thought I had reached at that moment in my 20s. And so what was that moment, that first moment that you can think of that you were like, okay, this is all me?
Wow. First of all, thank you for having me, brother. You know, I was coming calling to support you. I'm walking around with the camera. Then something says you're on the show. I'm like, oh Lord.
Well,
But I'm gonna be
you can
here.
say what you need to say and jump out if you have to. It's in and out. So
No worries, man. It's all good. I'll tell you that for me there were actually two moments, but the very first moment was probably when I went off to college to play basketball for Marshall.
okay.
That's the first time I had been alone. But the blessing is this: God knows my temperament. he knows that without him, I would probably have been totally off the rails. So he saved me at a young age, called me to preach at 17. And he set through, and I was, again, raised by my mother. It was five of us, and my mom and our father divorced when I was three. I'm a triplet, so it was three of us. But when I gave my life to Christ at 15, in a little church in West Virginia, there were three men in that church that I saw, that I was able to look at and watch, and that was the pastor, the youth pastor, and then one of the other ministers. So I was blessed to do that over a number of years until I went away to school, like 3 years, and then I what I tried to do was to emulate what I saw with them. First of all, my most important relationship with Jesus Christ. So that kept me, man, when my friends and my teammates were out doing their thing, that kept me like, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay, in my room or whatever. However, I did get married at 19, thinking I was doing the right thing. I'm not going to be fornicating and all this. That was a disaster. So, but my heart was in the right place, even though I didn't have the head knowledge. So I think that was the first time that I was living on my own, but I had rules. I had things I had to live by, from the school. But really, it was trying to emulate what I saw in the three men that God surrounded me with at the time that I needed it most. And then I don't think I fully matured. You may say this, Brother Oliver. I hadn't really fully matured till I was 30. At 30, for something just clicked in my mind. Now I'm 54 now, so, but at 30 years old, something just clicked, and I just went into a different gear in my life, in my thinking, and that's when everything began to change. How I view women, how I view my responsibility to them, and now I've got my family. My wife, Dr. Stacy, and our four children, and but everything just kicked in at 30. Anything before that would have been really messed up. I just wasn't mature enough.
Okay. You said something that I'm gonna touch on in a second, but anybody want to jump on that before I keep...
When you brought that question out, man, I was like, oh my goodness, there was so many. But
Okay.
when I think of the first had to be when I made the decision to go to the military. And I got in the military, went through boot camp and went through my other specialized training, and I was actually at my first duty station. And it came a point where I realized I did not have my mother to call upon to ask her for advice. My mother had never been in the military. What was she gonna tell me? My mom's standard answer was just let the Lord lead you. And I was like, look here, God ain't saying nothing about this, And so when I really realized the responsibility of decision making was totally on my shoulders, and all of the consequences were going to fall on my shoulders. And that was, honestly, I can say at the age of 51 now, that was a terrifying experience for me. Because when I thought about it, I was like, I've always had somebody else I could go to and ask, And in that space in time, I had no one. And as the doctor just said, man, I made some decisions that were so dumb, up through, and that was at 19 years old when I went to the military. But like he said, somewhere around 30, maybe even 35 for me is when something happened, something shifted, and I started to see life totally differently, even my spiritual life. And maybe because of the military, this is what I often say. I think the military was the catalyst for me actually having my own personal relationship with God. There were some things that happened throughout the military where I got a chance to see that God was real. And I think something just started to shift in me as I gravitated, or progressed through life at that point. So for me, it was 19, realizing, man, you have to make all these decisions because you now are a man. You've gone to the military to make life decisions that could either cost you your life and the life of others. That did it for me.
Okay. Yeah, that would do it. I can't even imagine because I didn't go through that, but I can imagine that is a wake up call for a lot of folks once they make that decision to do that. Dr. Bryson mentioned something as it relates to, and I'm gonna put it in my words, as it relates to observation and the impact that observation had on him, being able to observe the pastor that was in his life and those other individuals. And Ed, you talked about the lack of observation as it relates to not growing up with someone that you could see and emulate. And Kev Scott, I want to start with you on this one as it relates to, because you didn't say what your thing was, and you can put this in your craft this in your answer if you want to, but as it relates to observation, and I believe that observation is a very important component as it relates to how we navigate through manhood. That is one of the components. Think about as it relates to what everybody was talking about and the reality moment that they had, how you dealt with that moving forward. Can you look back to anything that you've observed? Or was there anything that you observed, whether it was in your father, in your uncles, in the men in your life, that kind of gave you some fuel, if you will, to navigate through those experiences? So let me put it like this. With me, right? I talked about this experience where I had to make this decision that had all of these implications, financial, academic, and what have you. Watching my father growing up, right? My father handled all of that. So I observed him handling those things, handling the finances while finishing school, while raising kids, while maintaining a marriage. And so I kind of tried to at least pull from that observation and make some decisions based on what I thought he might do. So did you have that observation moment, Kev, starting with you, that helped you through some of those things?
I will say yes, but I'm not going to say that it actually helped me through it so much as I thought, because I had seen some things that I knew I had the answers.
Gotcha.
You know, so it was one of those things where, like with like my stepfather, you know, excellent man, excellent provider, devoted Christian. One of the things he said, my sister and I actually joke about it all the time. He actually said what my man over here said earlier. He used to tell us every time we left the house, every time we walk out, remember who you are and whose you are. That was his phrase every time we go anywhere, even if it was to go hang with church buddies, always, you know. But the way that he was with my mom, like I said, incredible provider, man, worked hard, you know, like every overtime hour he get, you know, to keep stuff going for the fam. But when it came to the marriage, you know, with him and my mom, because of the things I saw there, I thought I knew what not to do and how to really handle and navigate that. So he and I actually got into it. And it's funny answering the question, the reality of manhood. There are two early moments, one right as I'm exiting Andrews, and then one about 2 years later, I was 23 when I got married. And that conversation he and I had when I told him the day before that, you know, my girl and I were going to go get married, to say, hey, we're going down to JP tomorrow. You know, we drove back to Chicago. Hey, we're going to the JP. We're going to get this done. And he was like, hey, we love her. You know, she's awesome, everything. But y'all have had this crazy, rocky relationship, you know, and there was a lot of things in the background that neither of us could control with her family. But it was to the point where he told me, he said, you're not ready for this. You know, you've got a lot of stuff you need to write first. And I kind of fired back at him and said, well, look at you and mom. You know, like I know based on y'all that I could make this work if y'all, you know, if all these of y'all struggling like that, I can make this work. I got the answers, you know. And he told me something that definitely sticks with me today. Now, mind you, I'm 40, and at the time I was 23. And he said to me, he said, son, he said, how you gonna tell me what you know when I've been running this marathon and you haven't even started a sprint? You know, and I still too smart for my own good, you know. And I was like, nah, man, I got this, and it ended up devastating my life and hers, actually, you know, because that thing didn't last but a couple of months, and although we were on paper married for probably about 7 years, we didn't even really talk. You know, like it got so bad that after a couple of months, she went her way, I went mine. You know, there was some back and forth a little bit here and there, but it really, the way that I ran it, thinking that I knew what I knew based upon seeing him do
Okay, so
things, I was like, I'm gonna do everything opposite, and I got this. This is
Mm.
easy, and really just made a mess of things that took me years to recover from. You know, and it was tough. So it's one of those things where you're observing and you're saying, hey, as long as I do the opposite, you know, it's gonna be straight. You know, but there's a lot of things that you don't have the tools for. And
Yeah.
he was trying to tell me that, but in his own way, he didn't know how to express other than to say, look, I've been doing this a long time. You haven't done anything. Listen to what I'm telling you. But he still had a lot of things to learn because of how he came up too. So it was one of those things where he's trying to explain to me, hey, I know you think you know because of things you've seen, but
Mhm.
you don't really know, no. And he didn't have the tools to be able to express to me in a way that I could receive it. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where, yeah.
That's interesting. You would say that too, and Donnie,
Yeah.
I want you to touch on this, and then I want the three main guys to touch on this as well. Stevie, Jabron, and Pierre. I believe observation is important, right? Kevin brought up an interesting caveat to that, right? As you're observing, some of us are observing in a way that allows us to pick up things that we want to do.
Right.
Some of us are observing things that are very opposite to what we feel like we should be doing. How important is that observation phase as it relates to coming into manhood? And how important is it to have someone to observe?
So I'm glad you said that because we've all heard the phrase "actions speak louder than words."
Mhm.
My dad, he grew up with type 1 diabetes, and in 2000 he passed away from complications from diabetes. However, the way my dad lived, you would have never known he was sick. He was partially blind, but still tried to drive. He went to work, did a 9 to 5 every day. He would come home. He was the first elder in the church. Sit down, prepare a sermon, made sure that everybody was eating, took care of my mom, everything. All those things, dealing with the fact that he also had the need to have a kidney one time. He went on dialysis, but he always was going to work. He was always going to church. He was always doing the stuff. So I see what my dad was doing, and when he passed away, when things became hard for me, I was like, "Oh, wait, my dad did it." So that observation of being able to see what my dad was able to do, even dealing with type 1 diabetes, having to have a kidney transplant, having to go to dialysis Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 4 days, 4 hours out of the day, but he still would go to work. He instilled in me the drive to persevere no matter what the circumstances were.
Wow.
But at the same time, he also had the mindset to say, I'm not doing this by myself. There's somebody that's doing it with me, and that was God. He was like, he leaned on God. He instilled that in all of us. So, to the question of when the manhood started for me, it started for me when my dad passed away because I didn't have
Mm.
that example anymore. It wasn't him. His prayers weren't covering me anymore. It was now on me. So I had to take everything that I had seen from 1 to 23 when he passed away, and I used that to be able to instill in my family right now. And it's funny when you do things that you see your parents did, or you say things that your parents did. It's kind of eerie, but
Mhm.
those are
Mm-hmm.
the things
Yeah.
that I use to get to where I am today. But I don't forget who got me here, and that's the examples of my father, heavenly and earthly.
Mhm. I like that. And before you guys jump in, Jabron, um, it's interesting that you would say that because I got a text from a good buddy of mine, Jimmy Gibson, who said the same thing. that it was not until his mother passed and he was 38 years old. He had that moment where he was like, whoa, okay, this is really all me. So it's interesting that you would say that. Thank you for that perspective. Yeah. So talking about observation, guys, Jabron, Pierre, and Stevie, talk about the importance of that. And is it important? What should we be looking for? Kind of dig into the observation phase for a little bit.
I think sometimes our observation can be skewed by something happening, impacting our lives. In my case, I was molested by my father's brother. So it skewed my observation of men in general when that happened. So now I had to figure out a way to regain some sense of identity as a man when this thing has impacted my life at such an early age. And so that caused me to have to revisit some things and wonder how to navigate this new territory that I wasn't really supposed to be in. And you navigate that by yourself with no one to talk to, with no one to guide you through this moment, these moments or these years of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a family and you're still trying to navigate in the darkness on how to be a man with true identity and authenticity, knowing that it's been skewed years behind you. So that, again, I think observation is important, but sometimes it's impacted by a meteorite coming into your atmosphere and just changing the course of the trajectory of your life. And we have to deal with that because there's a plethora of men who have been impacted by something like this, and we see the manifestation of it, but it has no name to it because they haven't discussed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, observation is, I think it's important, but all too often it's impacted by environment, family structure, sex, molestation, a gamut of things. But yet it's still important.
Okay.
Yeah. James Baldwin, famous quote by him. I use it often. James Baldwin says, young people often fail to listen to their elders, but they never fail to imitate them. And, my dad, Edward Smith, my dad is in his mid 60s and he doesn't even know if he's met his dad. So, 22 years old, you have a son. There is no model. There's no template. There is no one to pattern your maleship and fatherhood after. And I remember my dad just kind of scrambling and trying to figure out what that looks like. A friend here, a mentor there, someone he thinks he has his back over here. Someone doesn't have his back, lets him down. That perpetual cycle of trying to find a piece that fits the puzzle. And it's crazy how with modeling and observation that your life changes dramatically depending on who you're taking notes from. So we're right here right now in between the ages of 30 and 60. And I know some people are watching this live or will watch the replay, and they never had in their mind until this moment that men from 30 to 60 years old can sit down and have a conversation and be vulnerable and talk about what happened to them, because nothing around them has demonstrated that. And I know the impact. I've seen the impact, lived through the impact of not having a model, and then at different phases of life having someone to help you. The tough thing is when you find someone who I believe God sends your way to help you, and they don't look like the picture of the dad or the granddad or the uncle that you wanted, but they're what you need. And sometimes we miss those opportunities because we're still trying to fit. We want it to look exactly like this, and it's tough sometimes.
Wow, that's a good perspective.
Yeah, that's really good perspective. I think I have a very peculiar coming up. I was actually raised by a stepfather, I guess you can call him, but he was really my daddy, right? I met him when I was 3, and I had the experience of watching he and my mother go from ringing the bell outside of Walmart for the Salvation Army to watching her support him get a doctorate degree, from my fourth grade year until my senior year in high school was his 4 years of college and his residency. So
Mm.
I always saw the pursuit,
Mm.
right? Because at that point, we weren't successful. While he was in school, he didn't have any money,
Yeah.
right? But what I saw in him was drive,
Yeah.
right? I saw him know that there
There
was
was
a means to an end. He surrounded me with men in the church who were also aspiring to lead their families. And then one of the things that I really found interesting about the importance of observation is the fact that there has to be your maturation process allows you to fill in the nuance. What was missing in what you saw? What did you not understand about what you saw? It allows you to pull that cover over as you mature and realize that what they were faced with and what they were overcoming actively and you saw as success was them processing a whole lot of other nuanced situations to provide you what they gave you, right? So my man that said that he saw his father go through type 2 diabetes and he knew the product of what that hustle brand meant, but he didn't understand the nuance until he had to be faced with those obstacles himself and realize that even with the struggle he has, there was an added level of pressure on his father. And I think that understanding the nuance within observation is the most key part because everybody thinks a gold house on the outside is filled with gold on the inside. But the truth is, that's the outward manifestation of everything else going on inside to make that happen. So one of the best things that I picked up from the dichotomy of not of having a father that raised me and watching him get his education and support our family, and then meeting my biological father at 25 who had a completely different path. It gave me the the supposed path, the right way to do things, and then it gave me the, well, you weren't here. And until I understood the nuance within the dynamic of my parents' marriage, because it had its problems, and the reasons that my father wasn't there and what he was pursuing instead, has led me to really understand, like, how to navigate the way that I am present with my family, how I navigate my career, how I choose to outwardly display myself. And my job is, in my perspective, to to put the lid up a little bit now so they understand the nuance and why I am the way I am. And that way somebody won't have to go through some traumatic experience to put those two things together. And I think that's the importance of having conversations around manhood and sharing experiences and letting people see your success, but also understand what obstacles lie underneath. And the more examples you have, the better you can you can create the nuance within them and tell the path that you're on.
Wow.
And I'll leave it at that.
That's
You know,
that's good.
you know, I'm gonna say this, that, I mean, while examples are good, I wish I had that growing up.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
had no examples or example around me really growing up. I watched my mother go through struggles and pains and heartaches, raising seven children. I was the oldest of the seven, and so I became the man in my home. I had sisters, and Ali, and I had to braid my sister's hair, and iron the clothes and get them ready to school. And back then I was mad, but now it's an advantage for me because now I'm married. I perm my wife hair. I cut my wife hair. I do because these things becomes natural to me. But what I was able to do though is because I had no dad around and I knew the pain that came with it, I was able to say that I don't want that growing up as a child. I don't want that in my marriage, and so I became intentional
Hmm.
in not doing that. And how did I do that? Let me tell you, we're gonna be transparent right now. I remember when guys my age, teenagers and probably even younger, having sex all over the place. I lost my virginity at age 24. And the reason for that is because I was determined that, because I grew up in an era where I thought that if you held a young lady's hand, she would get pregnant.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I would not do that, and so I kept my virginity until age 24. I wish I had kept it until I got married, but unfortunately that did not happen. And so, because I was intentional about some stuff, and growing up and getting married, and bringing my dynamic into I see my wife is saying I love you, Smith. I love you too, babe. But growing up, and getting married, and bringing my dynamic into my marital relationship, I do realize that some of my dynamics would not work. So, what I had to do is to unlearn some stuff
Yeah.
and relearn some new stuff.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
sense? And even today, in a couple months, I'm going to be 60 years of age. And even to date, I am still unlearning and relearning, because I have to do what I call paradigm shift to,
Hmm.
to match my family. And it's not about my culture, and this is what I'm used to, and this is who I am. And I can no, if my family is important, I need to unlearn and relearn.
And let me tell you something, Ed. I want you to think about this. I'm going to ask Kirk to address this, and I'm going to ask Kirk to address this on purpose. But Ed, as you're talking about your experience and the fact that there was a lack of opportunity to observe based on how you were raised, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Kirk, think about that, right? Because Kirk, from me looking from the outside looking in, I feel like Kirk's dad
Right.
was everybody's dad. And Kirk's dad was that person that you wanted to observe. Work ethic, family man,
Mm.
lover of God. Just
Mm-hmm.
run down the whole line,
Mm-hmm.
right? Pop Newton is that guy, right? So, but think
Man,
about it from
so
this perspective, Kirk. If you
all right.
had,
Mm-hmm.
if you did not have, I want you to think about two sides of the coin. If you did not have that, what would you have had to do, or what do you feel like looking back you would have had to do to accommodate for the lack of that? And I'm asking you to do that because that's a mental shift for you because
Right.
you had
Right.
it.
Right. Right, man. Listen, so first of all, man, I got a chance to listen to a little bit before coming on, and man, some phenomenal nuggets of wisdom being shared. Ali's right. I usually come at this conversation from a very different perspective because I have been blessed to have um, a really, I mean, phenomenal father, somebody that I praise God for on a day to day basis. I was telling a friend just recently, literally just a week or so ago, that when I finished college, I had a conversation with my dad where he said to me, "I am going to try to transition from treating you as my son to treating you as a man." And allowing you space to grow and make your own decisions. And I'm gonna fumble at it. I'm gonna mess this thing up a couple of times, and you're gonna have to help me to find my lane and for us to balance this thing out, father, son, what it's gonna mean in terms of you now being an adult. I am the second child, but I was the first to graduate from college, so I was the first out of all my siblings to have this conversation with my dad. And I remember sharing that with somebody just recently, and they looked at me like, I have nothing to compare that to because I did not have a father figure in my life. So when I think about the concept, or just even trying to fathom what I would have had to do had I not had that in my life, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. I mean, he is literally my touchstone. He is my he grounds me. He helps me to understand definitely what it means to be a man, but also what it means to put a foot forward when you're not certain. Man, so and the other thing I always add into the conversation is yes, I had my parents, and let me mute my phone because I'm saying we live right now. But yeah, I had both parents in the home, and my mom is phenomenal as well. Showed me what I needed to look for in a wife, in a Proverbs 31 woman. But we experienced trauma in that my twin died when I was 2 years old, and so even now even in recent conversations, I'm still unpacking the impact that had on my parents, and what that. So I'll give you one example.
Yeah.
This is just one piece. My name is Kirk Richmond Nugent. My twin's name was Kurt Raymond Nugent. We couldn't tell it apart, so they called him Kelly, Kirk and Kelly, right? My parents found out they were pregnant right around the time my twin died with my sister. So they were pregnant with my sister right around the time my twin died. Okay, she's exactly almost to the day 2 months younger than me. August people stand up. So she, yeah. Some August people in the house. So my sister's name. Listen to me. My sister's name is Kimberly Rochelle Nugent. They gave her the initials of the child that they lost. Like we made jokes about it, and my entire family, my wife, my 2 kids, we all have KRN as our initials. I don't know how we worked that out, but we used to joke about it as kids. But when we sat and talked with our parents, trying to unpack what was significant about naming this child that was coming the same initials as the child that you had lost, and it was mind-boggling to me. So I share that to say there's when I hear people say I don't have a framework for what it means to sit and talk with a man and to allow emotions to flow. I don't understand that, because my dad was one of those guys who it wasn't a problem for him to just cry it out. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a carpenter, right? He's a man's man. His hand can sand wood. I mean, the serious one. But he would have zero problem sitting with you and crying it out, and allowing you space to just experience the full gambit of emotions. Our house was a house where people would come over. All of the people that I grew up with, because my parents were that kind of people who were very real. So I mean, I say this to say, while I recognize that I was blessed, I also recognized how blessed I was. You know what I'm saying? Because some people who have that blessing don't really recognize that that's not the way it is for everybody. I've lived a little bit and lived long enough to recognize that. Yeah.
Hey,
That's
Oliver.
a blessing, man. I'm done. You can't give the speaker a mic, man. We have problems letting it go.
I got a question, Oliver.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it amazing how we trivialize the impact of a lack? You know, when we lack something, we trivialize the impact of that thing. Whether we lack a father, whether we lack these certain things that we need to develop as men, we don't really discuss those things until later on in life, when we've had children and we've been divorced twice or 3 times, and we begin to realize I need to unearth some things now. And we've ruined some lives along the way, and they may not never recover. And so I think it's important now that we as men begin to not trivialize the impact that some things in life has had on us.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're trying to raise holistic young men and holistic young women.
Agreed.
And it's hard for broken people to raise whole people.
Come on.
Yeah, that's good.
Can I just say something to that?
It's warm now.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that, because I'm not ashamed to say at a point in time in college, I was depressed. A girl that I thought I was going to marry, we broke up, and I went into a deep depression. But I know I was in a depression, but no one ever really told me that. I know that now, but I'm glad I was able to. No one told me, but I just went and started talking to someone, a professional, to say to get those thoughts out, because they were eating me up, literally eating me up, to the point where me and my wife, at a point in time in our marriage, we needed to sit down and talk to someone. Had I not had that mindset to say, hey, we need to talk to someone, it could have been detrimental to our marriage. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I teach a behavioral health class at Morehouse School of Medicine, and I teach, there are 19 students, and I would say 15 of them are Black. And one of the parts of the class, we talked about depression, how it's underdiagnosed in African American communities. Why? Because we don't go talk to people who
Yeah.
can
Mm-hmm.
help us
Right.
through those critical moments when we have anxiety, when we have a lack of effort to do something. The mind itself can play tricks on you if you do not seek that help. So we need to definitely start making sure that be advice when we trivialize the lack of something. Maybe we need to find out why they're trivializing it, because it goes a little bit deeper than what we see.
May,
I
may
think.
I add to that?
Oh,
Yes, sir. Right.
Oh, it's
So,
on now. It's on
so
now.
yeah,
yeah, so now let's do it.
so to add to that, and trivializing lack, I think that in some cases you don't know that you're lacking something
Mm-hmm.
until. Okay, I heard in a really impactful sermon one time that God gives us insight, which means He gives us a glimpse of what could slash should slash will be if we follow.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So when I don't have an example, 95% of the time, God's going to give me something that says, this is how it should be. If you follow me, I will lead you there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm.
If you don't take heed to that insight, then you continue to live in lack. Right. But when you get that glimpse, if you're allowed that, if you're graced with that ability to get a glimpse of what it should be like, then you have something to aspire to and to pray for as a goal. What we
Mm.
miss is that for people who have never had access to, I'm gonna use a trivial example. To people who have never had access to hand sanitizer,
Mhm.
dirty hands feels normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Come on,
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
sir.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I'm
Yeah.
You better
talking
shut
now.
up, boy.
Uh-oh.
And so
Uh-oh.
the first
That's
time
good.
I get that chance to see it and aspire to it and get to feel my hands free of that dirt, now I've taken I've taken my glimpse of that and created a reality from it. Had I never seen it, dirt would be regular.
Yeah.
And so not only is it not addressing lack, right? Because that is a problem. When you know that there's something you're missing and you decide not to address it, that's one thing. But then if you've never seen it healthy
Wow,
and you
man.
still had to navigate life without that component, then you
Yeah,
don't
man.
even know that you lack it.
Right.
So let me ask you
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
It is.
Yeah.
what
Because
you
it's.
said. Let
It's
me ask
on
you.
now.
That's crazy what you said. Mind blowing. How then do you how do you shape the minds of the individuals that you may come in contact with
Mhm.
that are experiencing that and they don't even know that their hands should be clean, to use your example? They don't know that they should be seeking out opportunities to observe,
Mhm.
whether it be what to do or what not to do. How do you speak to that person? How do you turn that person in the direction that they should go?
I want to say something. I had a gentleman knock on my door one day, and he was looking for some handiwork, a white gentleman. And I opened the door up, and we were going to have a conversation. And as he was talking, I said to him, "I recognize you." And he said, "Where you recognize me from?" I said, "I was one time you."
mhm.
Because of the
Yeah.
language he used, I was
Yeah.
familiar with the language.
Mhm.
And that language made me be able to identify with him. So he came, I said, "Come on in the house for a minute." So he came in the house, and I said, "When did you get out?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "When did you get out?"
Hmm.
And we began to talk about his incarceration and his release. And he said while he was in prison, he had read this book called Prayer Circles.
Mhm.
And so I said, "I have that book downstairs." So I went him downstairs, took him to the library, gave him the book, and began to talk to him. And I think there comes a time when we who have gone through something,
Mm.
we understand the wound.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When my scar has been healed, I can identify with your wound
Mm.
because the language, the gestures, there's certain characteristics that I'm familiar with because I've come through that thing. And I think those are the moments when I can recognize that I can have empathy with him. Sympathy and empathy are two different emotions.
Mhm.
Mhm.
To sympathize means I hurt for you. To empathize means I hurt alongside you.
with
I
you,
identify with this. And
Right.
so I think we that have gone through things have to begin to empathize with those persons who are going through the thing that we've
Yeah.
come through.
And
we
that,
Stevie,
And
okay.
so,
I want.
I just want to say this real quick. A lot of times the reason why we go through the stuff that we go through in life is that, and I can only speak relationship because I do that. That's what I do best, right? And so I try to relate everything to relationship. A lot of times we divorce ourselves from the situation, but we're still married to the pain.
mm,
You understand me? And because we're still married to the pain, we bring that pain over into our current relationship, maybe a marital relationship, a platonic relationship, whatever the case may be. We're still bringing that pain over into the relationship. And sometimes that relationship, watch this, and especially marriage relationship, sometimes we don't realize that we're carrying a pain until that relationship exposes you.
Mm.
And that relationship now exposes you and says, okay, these are the flaws. And while it's a good thing, but the most important thing is that once it exposes you, you recognize it for what it is and start
Yeah.
doing a new thing. But when you start to hold on to your pain because it makes you feel better, then you are not ready to be in any kind of a relationship, marital or not. But once it exposes you and you're saying, oh wow, I did not realize this, I did not recognize this pain, but now that I do, then I need to do something about it. That's what makes a difference in our life.
You,
mhm.
I like it.
we overcome. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb
Yeah.
Mhm.
and by
Yeah.
the word of
Word,
our
testimony.
testimony.
Yep.
By
Yeah.
the word of our testimony. And so I think it's been said a couple times, but that's really where it's at. Is so when you talk about identifying with somebody's pain, somebody's struggles, it's because you've actually gone through
Right.
something similar yourself. And so God has allowed all of us to experience certain things so that we can then show somebody the course towards healing and restoration. One of the things that my dad always said to me is that you, Kirk, are uniquely gifted to raise your kids because your kids have your issues. The only issue, the only thing that will happen now, is that so he said you are uniquely gifted to raise your kids because your kids have your issues. But
Mm,
if you have not overcome your issues,
There it
Absolutely.
is.
then you and your kids are just going to be figuring it out together.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
See, that goes back to
So
what I
That's a
was
good
saying
word.
about my experience and the things, that in my household and families around me is you've got these things you're carrying. And a
Yep.
lot of times, if you don't have the tools,
Right.
mhm.
Right.
which is why I've gone through counseling several times, since I think the first time I went to a counselor, I was 21, 22, and the fight and struggle, even with that, and be able to get certain things out, you have to have those tools and know how to identify that you've got issues and to be able to even say, yes, I have problems. Here's where they come from. Here's how I solve them. And you've got to seek help. So I think that's one thing that is, as black men specifically, we have to be able to confront that and say, yes, there is an issue. And yeah, I've got things that I need to have addressed and I need help with that.
Mm.
So that's
Yeah.
that's the core thing right there is to even first as black men especially say, yeah, I've got a unique set of problems,
You
and
know,
I need
I'm
some special
I'm
help
sorry.
to get over that.
I want to go back to
I
something
want.
that Stevie said. Um, there was a friend of mine. I kept seeing him pop up on social media or doing certain things. Well, really before we became friends, and it was just bothering me seeing him when he posted a video, when he would say anything, it would just irritate me. And then he started to call me and ask me for advice. And I was like, why is it irritating me so much to talk to this person? And
Mm.
I realized
It's
Mm-hmm.
you.
that it was me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
he's 30. And when I started my whole journey of trying to figure out what leadership looked like in my context, I was 30 years old. So the feelings of sitting in a seat of responsibility, not knowing what to do, trying to force myself into a social construct that's not necessarily accepting of me, being endowed with all of these abilities and trying to raise a family.
Mercy.
When I saw him,
Speak to
it
it.
it it poked to everything that I had struggled with. And I said, the only way that I'm going to be able to navigate this conversation or to navigate this context is if I help him.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him on the phone, and we were having a conversation. I said, let me be honest with you, man, you used to irritate me. And the reason why you used to irritate me is because I see myself. And I went down the list, and he said, that's exactly what it is. And I said, yeah. So God told me, if in order for me to get over this thing, I'm gonna have to help you, because I know what it's like. And that's a violation of, in many cases, of man law, because man law says you're not vulnerable. You don't help people on the come up. Either you got it or you don't. And I'm just trying to look out for me and mine, and whatever you do in your lane is on you. So when you see yourself, man, a lot of us, and I really resonate, Stevie, with what you said. When you see yourself, it's the most irritating thing.
And I think that's why a lot of times.
Good. Or hold that camera for a second. Let me jump in real quick. And I know Dr. Bryson, you wanted to say something, but that's crucial. What you all are talking about. You all have said pieces of a very crucial point, which is there is some onus placed on the individual who is lacking those observation opportunities.
Right.
However, there is more definite onus on the person who recognizes that individual
and doesn't,
and is able to step up to the plate and say, hey, I see you looking around. This is what you're looking for. Come this way. And I can determine that based on some things that I'm going to share with you that I see in you that were in me.
Wow.
That's crucial.
Wow.
And that's a piece that I believe that a lot of folks are missing often. And we're going to talk about the whole man law aspect of it. Often we see individuals who are looking all around, and we're like, oh, we're going to pray for them. They'll find their place. Knowing full well that we were doing the exact same things. And we were looking around because we found ourselves in the very same circumstances. And so having that mind that allows you to recognize and do what you did, Stevie, and pull that guy aside because you could see it and you could hear it and you could feel it and you could understand it is crucial. Donnie, I saw your message, man. Much love, my brother. Yes, sir.
I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be here today. And this is personal for me. I'm glad I was able to be a part of it. I got 2 boys myself, and I'm instilling in them being able to come to us and being able to talk about whatever they need to talk about. And what you all are saying, when you see something in someone that is you, I see that in my kids in it. I was like, okay, these jokers, I gotta fix
all day
to make sure they don't do all in this. And now I see what my dad was telling me. He's like, for me, the most thing that puts a bad taste in my mouth is when people lie to you, and my kids lie, and I lied when I was little. So I was like, man, I gotta fix this. So I see them doing it, and I'm like, no, can't do it. Gotta fix it. But listen, I appreciate you all. There's somebody that's wearing a hat that I just don't like. It's a Dallas Cowboy
hat. I wasn't gonna say nothing, but man,
much love to you all.
Hey, listen,
go Saints, go
hey,
Leos.
much love, bro. Appreciate you, man. Love to your family as well, man. Appreciate you, bro.
You know, Apostle Paul said something that was very critical.
Let me get Dr. Bryson, and then I'll get you, and then we'll wrap up this segment because this goes right into what I want to talk about next. So Dr. Bryson, and then Stevie.
Okay, I'll try to make this concise. One thing that I was speaking with our congregation about and doing a series on was the question of inadequacy, because we all have the proclivity to try to go and help people, help within our families, outside of our family. But the reality is this: oftentimes when we go to help people, when we go to assist folks, depending on how needy they are, we wind up getting exposed, because when we walk up to the situation and we just don't have enough within ourselves to help them.
That's good.
We don't have enough. So we actually walk up inadequate, not realizing that we can't do it. And I used the example of there's several scriptures in the Bible, but Hannah crying, she wanted a child, she was depressed, and her husband said, finally, he was trying to do so much for her, give her this, give her that. Finally, he cried out and said, "Am I not good enough?" So what happens is we get exposed. A couple of the brothers said it. We wind up getting exposed. The fixer needs fixing. And what she had to do was ultimately go to Christ and go to the altar and pray and seek the Lord. And when we go to help people, someone talked about the man law. I think we want to do that. We want to jump in, but unless we go with a full awareness that we cannot fix everybody, we cannot fix anybody. We can help, but unless we point them to Christ and lead them there, we're all inadequate. And that's when the Lord really uses us most. When we come to that realization after we battle through that process, because he told Paul, in your weakness, then that's when I'm strong. So as we go around helping and fixing people, understand that we are all inadequate. We go to the adequate God.
Wounded healers.
I love it. Steve,
that's real good, bro. Real good.
Wrap this one up, Stevie. I'll let you wrap this segment up.
No, I was thinking about Apostle Paul. He said, I become all things to all men that I may save some. He realized he couldn't save every man that he came in contact with. But yet he tried to come in contact with every man that he saw, knowing that one man plants, another man waters, but it's God that gives the increase. And I think when we come to that understanding, I don't have to feel like I have to do all of it. I can just do part of it. And that part of it is my part. So if I'm a sower, I shouldn't be trying to water. If I got a water hose, I shouldn't be trying to plant. So just do my part, and God will do the rest. And so,
man,
I know you're wrapping it up, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Man,
yes, sir.
I wanted to say something, but no. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
You know, I shared this. I've shared this a number of times, but I wanted to say, you know, one of the main questions I get when I was working at Oakwood University, working at other college, working with young people, with young students, with aspiring IT professionals that we hired on to give them practical hands-on experience in the tech shop, is that they really enjoyed seeing the process. I think for most young men, for most young people, period, they see a finished product. So they look at a panel like this one, they're like, man, where, you know, how, okay, so connect the dots for me. You get what I mean? How do I get from where I'm at to where you are? Because they don't get a chance to see the finished product. But when they were working with us, right, when they were working shoulder to shoulders, and we treated them like, I mean, Kevin is on the screen. He knows what I'm talking about. We worked together as student technicians at Andrews University. We treated them the way we were treated when we were students. We treated them like real workers, like they were with us. And so when they got a chance to really work with us, and we're looking at an issue, and I'm saying to them, I'm not 100% sure, let's try a couple things and see what'll fix it. It gave them a level of confidence to say, oh, they're figuring it out too. They don't necessarily have all the answers. I'm getting a chance to see behind the veil. I'm getting a chance to see the unfinished product. And that when that light bulb went on, I'm gonna tell you, man, it was very impactful for those young people's lives, for them to be able to see the undone product, not the highlight reel, not you walking across the stage to accept the award, the grind part. You know what I'm saying? The failure, abject failure, when a project fails, right? They got a chance to see some of those things, and those guys, I mean, they still come by. I've been at Oakwood for almost 2 years now, and they still come by because they keep on saying to me, man, it was those experiences that gave me permission to try and fail and then try again.
Okay, that's good, man. They got to see. They got to see how it all works.
I was actually trying my best to not say it. I was like, let me not plug this joint. But
you were not. You were trying.
I figured I'd help you out. They got to see how it all works.
They got to see how it all works.
Come on, give me 30 seconds.
All right, this is my last thing. Just to capitalize and kind of revisit what I said about insight. Were it not for grace, we would not be where we are. And we wouldn't see where they are.
That's it.
So if we have been graced to get to where we are and we notice it in someone else, we don't have to be everything for them, but we can introduce them to the fact that I was you.
Yes.
I was you. Were it not for grace, I would still be you.
Yeah, listen.
So when I see it in someone, it's my responsibility
Mm-hmm.
as someone who has been blessed to be able to get to where I am, to notice where someone else is if it's familiar to me and help them move along.
There it is.
That's gold.
That's
Listen,
it.
I will. I have no problem keeping you all as long as you want to be kept. Like, I'm just gonna put it out there.
I just
Drop
didn't
off,
want that to be missed.
drop
Yes,
off
sir.
when you
You
need to. Yeah, drop off when you need to. But I will keep you as long as you want to be kept. Now, I am going somewhere with this. So for those of you who are watching, there is an announcement that I want to make that lines up completely with what we're talking about, and I will make that announcement a little later on. But you're talking about, as we came down to the end of this segment, we're talking about things that we need to learn and unlearn. We're talking about the things that were basically the perspectives and the things that shaped our behaviors, the man laws, if you will, and some of the things that have maybe steered us in a direction that we didn't want to go down as it relates to how we deal with some of these things. So what are some of those man laws? Like, let's just throw out what those man laws are. Like, what are some of the things that we should be unlearning? What are the things that have been impactful in our lives, whether positively or negatively, as it relates to the man laws? Throw some of those things out.
One of the things that we need to unlearn is the fact that we have often heard that men don't cry, men don't show emotions, and we need to unlearn that, bro, real quick. Unlearn that real quick, man. Because God made us with emotions, and when you bottle that up because society said that you ought to be tough and strong, man, stop all that, man. Show your emotions.
All right, emotions. Yeah, I like that.
And it's not unmanly. It's not. You're not considered sub-man if you ask for help.
Right.
You can ask for help. You can ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. I don't know where that came from, but
that's good too, because as we were talking, in the last one, talking about the difference between the person who is seeking observation opportunities and the person who recognizes that person.
Right.
Some of the onus on the person who's seeking is to come to the realization that, hey, it's cool. It's okay. I can ask.
Yeah.
I can go to somebody and be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Can you point me in the right direction? That's what
problem.
we do when we get lost, right? You get lost. You hit somebody up and say, hey, man, I'm looking for XYZ restaurant, man. Can you point me in the right direction?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And so, but we have to get to a place, those of us who are looking for those opportunities, somebody has to maybe make us aware of the fact that, hey, you're good, man. You can ask.
You can ask.
Okay. It's okay. Not, that's a man law that you can unlearn. You don't have to, yes, it's cool if you pull yourself up by your bootstraps,
right?
But you could probably, get there a little quicker if you just be like, hey, how do you do this?
Yeah, God gave us an institution called marriage, and it is okay for you. You can't figure out things, and so it is okay for you to say, look, listen, I need help. Go to a counseling. We as men, we always shy away from counseling because we see counseling as, okay, if I don't know how to fix my own marital relationship, why should someone else tell me that it's not fixable? Go to counseling, brother.
Yeah.
I think one of the things for me, Oliver, was I told my wife when I married her, she will never outserve me. When I read Ephesians 5 in the context, when it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church and gave himself for it.
Mercy.
Yes, sir.
I said to myself, if I am to love my wife like Christ loves the church will never outserve Christ. Therefore, my wife should never outserve me.
Yeah, that's fire right there.
And so every day, it is a battle for my wife to try to outserve me. And she loses every day. And so I make a point to let her know that, hey, you tried hard today, and I give you credit for that, but you didn't outserve me. And so when I take that mindset, she understands. She has therefore she has no problem submitting to me.
That's good.
Submitting is a grace because what she's understanding is that he is serving me to a level that I can't even get to. Therefore, I would submit to his servitude. When we understand that, so I think we as men have to understand that if we want our wives to submit, show them service.
Come on, sir.
Even if they don't submit.
Burke?
Even if they don't. But
Even
again,
if they
You're trying
don't.
to shut it down.
But even if they don't, they will eventually fall under that.
I agree.
Right.
They will
That
eventually
is it.
because
Yeah.
every woman is created to be covered and she's created to be served.
Yep.
When you
Bro,
look at how God
That's
has
so powerful.
orchestrated
That's
life
so good.
and
That's so
marriage,
good.
marriage is the only institution that God has instituted to resemble Him and His love for the church.
Yes, sir.
So if your marriage isn't reflecting that, then the world can't see how Christ loves the church.
Right.
The first place they see that is in my service and my love and my commitment to my wife. And your children, the same thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Absolutely.
And
Does-
that goes
Absolutely.
to what my thing is. In order to serve, because we ourselves are servants. We ourselves are serving a God, an ever providing God.
Right,
Right.
right.
And when I think of submission, it means to get
Come up
under,
under.
come up under it. So if I'm aligned with God,
Mhm.
everything under me is being served as well.
Mhm.
Should be. Should
Right? It should
Yeah.
be.
Trickle
Yeah.
down.
So, and that includes my children. So the men don't nurture, we don't change diapers, we don't talk to our daughters about they, stuff that goes on. No. I should be the person ordained by God that they can come to.
Yeah.
If I turn away any point of that, I'm not serving my marriage the way that I should.
Have
Man,
mercy.
you're talking about an altruistic form of life that goes directly against the man law that
Absolutely.
states that it's all about me.
Right.
Mm.
Everybody's not there to be
I got to get mine.
for me. Right.
Yeah. And one of the man laws that we really got to dispel, we really got to fight against this thing, is that one of the primary categorizations of being a man is being amorous and uncommitted.
Wow.
Mm.
Get ready to bring that.
Wow.
Once you get married, once you have a family, you have lost it.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
let's have a moment of silence for our boy because he's done.
Pour a little out.
Yeah, he done. He can't be all over the place sowing royal seed, and he on lockdown. We got to
On lockdown.
dispel. Like it's so manly to be a good husband and a good father. Like that's the thing. Like
Yes.
that is legitimately the thing, and we gotta big
dope,
that up.
bro. That's
Yeah,
dope.
Make, like that. If we looking for something to make great again, let's make marriage and
Yes.
fatherhood great again.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
You said you were going to say something about that, Kev Scott?
Yeah, man. Actually, that actually was where I was going to jump on that and say that Kirk Franklin had a song years ago, and one of the line of the song was, "Be a man, show me you a man, get all the girls you can." Because he was taught that, and those know I'm from Chicago, so I like to say Chicago, your home of the players, so on and so forth. So you grow up and you see this even in church. Where cats are like, yeah, man, I
Even
got
in
that
church.
one, and that. Like, you see
Yup.
all them over there in a row?
Especially in
I
church.
got them all. And so you, at certain points, you can start thinking like, okay, this is a thing. And also, even, and Ali, you could attest this, man, as a musician too,
Mercy.
even in church,
Even in
it
church.
becomes a thing where it's like a badge of honor. And you're kind of taught that, and you hear people brag about it. And you're like, okay, so this must be it. I remember sitting in a lesson once with a bunch of other church musicians, and they were all just going down a line about the things they've done with women in church.
My God.
It is on that whole thing like, hey, I'm a man. This is what we supposed to do. We supposed to go ahead and line them up and get them. But it kind of ties back, I think, for me, when I look at my life and the things that I've done, when I fell into that kind of pattern of thinking, it goes back to what someone said earlier about the emotional content
Yeah.
and being able to allow yourself to understand emotions, because what we're doing is a lot of times we use that to mask what's really going on,
Yeah.
as opposed
Yeah,
to
man.
and so it's not so much of people think like, oh man, like I've told women who been with even in my life, and just say, yeah, it's not the fun that you think it is. A lot of us do run around and we don't realize that we're actually doing real damage to ourselves
And
emotionally. Like, we know spiritually is there, but emotionally we're killing ourselves, and we're hiding other things, and we're making something way worse. So once again, you've got to be able to identify that and say, hey, it's okay as a man to say, I'm hurt. I'm hurt instead of having to run around and mask it with other things, like rampant promiscuity. But that's a man law right there that we definitely have to dispel, is that you're not a man unless you're knocking down 10 at a time. That is harmful, and it destroys us and our abilities to have family, and to really do what we were meant to do as men.
Man,
that's so good.
If you haven't come through something as a boy, you will live in as a man. Again, whatever you haven't come through as a boy, you will live in as a man.
Absolutely.
So it's imperative that we teach our sons to come through some things, so when they get to manhood, they live in freedom of boyhood.
Oh my God.
Ooh, when I became a man. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Put away my childish things.
So at the end of the day, we have too many men who haven't grown up as boys. And so now I'm having a conversation with some men next Monday, and it's called "Show Me My Husband," mean model him in front of me. So if you want your daughter to marry this particular kind of man, then model him in front of her when she's a child.
Wow.
And I think that's some of the challenges that we have as men, that at the end of the day, I believe this, that we have to applaud our children because they're doing exactly what we taught them to do. We've taught our kids to do exactly what they're doing today. So we can't complain about them.
Oh, that's fire.
We have to change the climate and the culture that we're living in as men.
Absolutely.
So you want your son to be made whole, when you're broken. Are you serious? And so I know this is Oliver's release thing, but I'm doing a book called "When Another Man Raises Your Son."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that too. I'm gonna let you plug everything. Don't worry. I knew that was coming. You know I was gonna let you say something about that.
But anyway,
what's even worse is when trauma raises your son.
Oh man.
Listen, that's a great segue, right? So talk about that. Give me 30 seconds about the concept behind that book, right? Because there's some other authors on the panel as well, but give me 30 seconds behind that.
I was in the men's conference.
We're talking about.
I was doing a men's conference, and we were having a theme, and every night we had a different theme. And so I was taking my son home to his mom, and I was coming around the bend. And as I pulled up, I realized that his stepfather, whom I was taking him home to with his mom, was raising my son. And I had him every other weekend. And so he had him out of 30 days. He had him 26 days.
Good God.
So at that moment, I realized that every second I had my son had to be intentional. Because I know when he got to a crossroads, I needed him to say the same thing about me that Jesus said about his father. Did not my father say? And so I had to be very intentional with every second I had in my son's life. So I realized at that moment another man was raising my son, i.e. Joseph raised another man's son. When you look at that, Joseph raised raised God's son, literally. And so how do we respond to that as men who have children who will be raised by another man based on a divorce rate?
Yep.
Wow.
I'll take the book. Yep.
Yeah,
that's
good
stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get that on pre-order.
I'll take that book.
Where's the PayPal link?
Hey, Ollie, there's another man law that I would love. I mean, just it's got to go, right? It's got to go, right? Especially among us, among the brothers, and it is the ability to show emotion to men, to other men, the ability to say to another man who you love. Like I don't mean that like in a the manly way that I'm talking about a man that you have gone through it with, and you love that man as a man, and being able to say to them, I love you, bro. Like, man, you have what you mean to me. Like David and Jonathan, I love you. And for you to actually mean it and be okay with doing that and not have to throw a no homo on the end. Yo, I'm serious. I think and then you put the fist in there. Yeah. Nah. I really feel like that is another killer in our community because we have not been free to share emotion among men, to share for real among men. I think that's another hindrance to having the experience transfers. What I'm saying is we talk about the testimony, We talk about, seeing that somebody's in the space that you used to be and being able to call that out in them. One hindrance of being able to do that is being able to show emotion to that man as a man and not feel less of a man. Okay. I'll just, that's
no,
to
keep
me
going.
that man love.
Keep going.
Keep
That's
going.
good.
That was good.
No, you're
Because
good.
that's
No,
literally
man.
what I was gonna say, bro. That's literally what I was gonna say. I
That
have
one-
this weird
Whew.
thing with my homies that I will hit them up and be like, I love you, bro. And
Yeah.
you continue to fight because I see what you're going through and I
Yeah.
see that you're persevering. And the way
Yeah.
that I view you as a man
Yep.
makes me place you on a pedestal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because men want to be honored. The reason a lot of these men laws come around, if we're going to be real, is because we want to feel special. We want to feel like we're important. We want to feel like what we do makes an impact. All we have to be able to do is recognize that in someone and call it out. We don't have to want anything in return for it either.
Mm-hmm.
I love you because I see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's
I
it,
don't want to kiss you. I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
bro.
That recognition in itself,
That's it right there.
that's the power that a lot of men need. That's if you had a whole bunch of homeboys that you knew loved you, supported you, made sure that if you needed something they had your back, would you need a bunch of random women?
Nope.
Listen.
You're get it all.
We
It's
don't
all
wanna go there,
connected.
though.
It's all connected.
Listen,
It's
man.
I
all
don't want to
connected.
go there though.
It's
But
all
that-
connected.
My wife told me some time ago, she said, babe, I don't know if you'll believe this, but a lot of times when women get dressed, they don't get dressed for dudes.
Other women. It's for other
They
women.
get
Yeah.
dressed so that other women can acknowledge.
Wow.
I see you, sis. I see you,
Right.
sis.
Wow.
Look at that black girl magic.
Yeah.
They pump each other up.
Yeah, they do.
How many times is it for us that it's not even for the female you're trying to get the attention from? It's for the brother that never
See
looked
that
out
you
for
get
you.
the
If it's the dad you were missing, the uncle, whoever, the male in your sphere to say, I see you, young blood. I see what you're doing. Well, and it's a lot of times attached to something nefarious just to get that attention. Well, if this is the only way I'm gonna get the attention, like Kevin said, I'm gonna keep knocking them down.
Listen,
Because all I really want is for somebody like Jabron to say, "Yo, bro, I love you. I appreciate what you're doing. Keep up the good work."
let me tell you something. That when Ollie's talking about, and I mean this, I'm gonna share. Hopefully, I'm okay sharing this. But when Ollie's talking about my dad being one of those dads, I honestly don't feel like he would. I just want to humanize it a little bit and say he was a man just like everybody else is a man. He has his failures, he has his faults, he has his okay. He falls short. But one of the things my dad is known for is showing love. There's two people on the panel right now that know my dad personally, and they know that he is a hugger.
Yep.
And he will put his hand on your shoulder and tell you he is proud of you. I love what you're doing. People never forget that. Never forget that. And I'm not talking about men only. I can't count how many female friends I have who's like, "How is your dad doing?" Oh my gosh, he just spoke to me and he ain't say nothing much. Listen, the world is lacking adult, real, manly love. That's where we're missing it.
I wonder to that point, when I think about Jesus coming up out of the water and God said, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased." I think one of the things that we neglect to do is to affirm our children publicly.
Publicly.
We will do it privately, but publicly affirmation does something to boast that child.
Yes.
To a degree that they will raise their own standard.
Yes.
Because they always want to continue to please the father.
Yep.
So I think we as men have to revisit how we affirm and validate our children.
Yes.
Moving forward.
Yes.
Because it carries a lot of weight with it. When we don't affirm our children and we don't validate them, they try to muster up enough strength for you to see them. Do you see me? And they do these things that they really don't want to do. All they want to know is, do you validate me and do you affirm me? But I think if we can do that as men without them having to utter this, then it makes them raise their own bar up. And they'll come up higher than we ever expected them to.
Informal poll. How many men How many? What you just said? You took the names off, so I can't see his name right now. But I think it was Jesse. Is
Stevie.
it Stevie?
Stevie.
Stevie. What
Yeah.
Jesse just said. How many men have suffered? I mean, informal poll. How many men have suffered from that lack?
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Is
Yeah.
it honestly speaking? That's it right there.
Mhm.
So my daughter, my oldest daughter, is 12 years old. Just went to finish going to 7th grade now. When she started 6th grade, and even before, there was a time where in the morning she would get dressed and she would, wherever I was, if she would wake up super early. If I was up, or if I was in the bed or whatever, she would come to wherever I was, and just after she was dressed, and just stand there.
Mhm.
And all she wanted was for me to say, "You look nice today." That's it. And she would, after I say, "You look nice today," she would say, "Thank you, Daddy," and just leave the room. She would stand there. If I was asleep, she would just stand there until I woke up, until I look over. And the only thing she wants to hear, "You look nice today." And she would smile, "Thank you, Daddy." And she would go out the room.
That's exactly what just happened when I had to turn my camera off. My
Yeah.
daughter had just came in the room. I might not even have my mic off, and I
No,
just gave her
I
a
heard
hug.
you.
Hey, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, baby. How you doing? That's
That's
it. Left the room.
Listen.
I'm right back on camera. That affirmation for
Listen.
men and for women is emotionally
Oh my
maturing
gosh.
as
It's a love
they
language.
and
Absolutely.
it sets that bar high, like my man said.
Absolutely.
Now everything that don't feel like that is unfamiliar.
It's funny you said it, because when they study counterfeit money, they never study
Yeah.
counterfeit money.
Real
Because
thing.
Real.
counterfeit money always changes. They study real money.
That's
So
it.
when you
Yep.
do real,
Real.
everything else becomes counterfeit to them.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
man.
You know,
So you know what I mean? So at the end of- so at the end of-
Oh,
Hold on, Steve, man.
Listen.
You're killing us,
Listen.
man.
We going to midnight. What you say?
oh, what?
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So when you become a
Ain't
real man of
nothing but
God,
the real thing,
yeah, so when
baby.
you become a real man of God, every other dude is counterfeit.
Yes.
And
man.
even if she deals with him, she only deal with him for a short period of time because she
Right.
realizes he's counterfeit.
Oh,
Monopoly.
But when
And
you
that
counterfeit,
information isn't real.
when you counterfeit, she recognizes counterfeit.
that's all she knows.
You know,
Because
Wow.
That's home. That
You know-
becomes home.
you know what?
Counterfeit.
Yeah.
Counterfeit becomes home.
Absolutely.
counterfeit
You know,
begets counterfeit.
right. You know what?
Counterfeit begets counterfeit.
You know what is so crazy in what you guys are saying right now? It's I remember. So I taught my older daughter how to drive, and we have one son and also our son, but I can remember our middle child was taught by my wife, and my wife she drives real fast, but that's another story. Uh,
I'm with you, brother.
she was.
I'm with
I
you
mean,
too.
she did real good, and every time my wife would compliment her on how she's doing. I'm talking about my daughter now. She would always ask, "How does Pop feel? What does he say?" You understand me? And that
It's
brings home to
crucial.
me because she needed validation from me,
It's crucial.
regardless of how mom feel. She needed validation from Pop because
Yeah.
and so to the brother who spoke earlier on, that's when you can teach your children how to be real, or when you can present to them realness, then they can see counterfeit when it comes.
Yeah.
Man, that's good. Listen,
Wow.
wow. Okay. So
And that dollar thing, that's set the thing on
Yeah.
fire. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, I'm
yeah.
using that
Hey,
tomorrow.
Yes, I will.
Stevie, that's a
Borrow.
clip. I'm
Stevie?
taking that clip, man.
That's
I'm
getting
posting
borrowed,
it.
Doc.
Yeah, that's a clip. That's a clip.
So here, I got one more segment. We can talk as long as we want to, but I have one more thing that I really want to get your guys' input on. But before I do that, I did say that I was going to be sharing an announcement.
Come on, bro.
So I just want to take a moment to share that announcement, and then we will be right back.
All right.
Go.
Yeah.
All right now.
Okay.
All right. For the man who wants to be his best despite what he was taught. My God.
Wow.
Come on, oh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So,
Yo,
gentlemen,
can
Congratulations,
you can
man.
you can you put that back
can
up
I
for
throw
just
that
one
back
second?
up?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just let me see it one more time.
So the ladder. Oh my God, that symbolism is just
Yeah,
oh,
that's good.
So
that's
listen,
rich. Yeah.
I have been I've been toying with this idea
Mm-hmm.
for a long time. I saw Paul Graham on I saw Paul Graham on for a second,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was a speaker at a singles conference that he did. And while I'm talking about this, I'm gonna bring back all Pastor Bryson and Dave Turner. Um, I spoke at this singles conference and I did the breakout session for the single men in that conference. And the name of the talk was the unwritten man laws.
Right. Right.
And what I went through was five man laws that I had learned that have been valuable to me. I call them unwritten man laws because we live under all these man laws that you all just talked about that we need to unlearn. So for those, they were kind of etched in my mind and written in my mind, so to speak. So these were the unwritten ones. One was leadership sometimes looks more like maintenance man than CEO, talking about the two sides of leadership. One was you cannot demand what you haven't first developed, talking about trust and the value of trust and security that you provide. One
Mhm.
was simply, it's not about you. I had gone through this period of time, a long period of time in my life where I was like, hey, how is this going to benefit me? Even my marriage. And just learning that, wait a minute, it's not about you. Um, and so those are some of those things. And I went through that with the guys there. And after I did that, I don't know, I was impressed. I guess it was just the Holy Spirit. It was like, man, this is a book. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's a book. I started writing it, but I put it down.
Hmm.
I said, not out of discouragement, but just out of life, getting in the way. And this year, the beginning of this year, picked it back up and just kind of, and this is what came out of it. And so literally some of the very things that we're talking about as it relates to the trajectory of manhood and that process that you go through and some of the things that you need to incorporate as it relates to observation and training and execution and feedback and some of those things that are those components that are so important to the development of a man. I have kind of poured into this book, and it's not a by any means, it is not a manual. Like it is not a thus saith the Lord. It is literally like I explained it to Stevie before we started this conversation. It is a hey, come on, get in the car with me. I'll fill you in on the journey thus far, but we got a long way to go. So come on and get in with me, and we'll talk about it as we go. That's what this book is for folks. And so
That's
I did
perfect.
that little thing, man, because I had the copies that I had to open up, so I
Look at that.
Oh,
Look
you
at
did
that.
this the first time you're opening it?
This is
well
it.
I
This is
had
it.
some other ones, but this is the one that folks will get. So
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Congratulations.
Man, look at that. Congratulations, bro.
thank you for the moment to go ahead and
Yes,
put
sir.
it out
Author,
there.
Come
author,
on, Doc.
author.
Come on, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Add
Yes,
the
sir.
comma. Add the comma
Yes,
to the
Put
end
some
of the name.
respect on his name.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
and author.
Dave
Yeah.
Turner, welcome, man. This is my guy, Dave Turner. Dave Turner is I got a lot of words I could say for Dave Turner. Dave Turner is a educator extraordinaire.
Yes, sir.
Dave Turner is a photographer and videographer extraordinaire.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He
Dave,
he
Dave Turner is wrapping up a baby shoot right now that he
yeah,
just did with his family,
see,
and so, yeah, so I'm
he's
I'm I'm
working.
on it. I'm working. I'm
Love
Dave
it.
Turner,
working. I'm working.
yes, sir. So I
But no,
appreciate
thanks for having me, Ollie. I'm not even a fan of yours. I'm a fan of your families, right?
it.
Um, and as you break down, man laws, and I'm shooting, right, and I'm listening, and I was like, man, I wonder if I'll get a chance to just pop in, but I'm locked in, and conversation has been real. As a matter of fact, the conversation has been so real that I'm wondering if this is make believe,
Wow.
because this ain't happening in every circle. And even as I enter in other circles, it's how do you pivot what has been a normal conversation around manhood to what we're trying to do, right? As you talk about the man laws, last night, and we were joking about this, my 15-year-old daughter and I were up looking at Netflix. It was like 12 o'clock, and I was like, you're 15 and it's time to go to bed. Yes, I know it's vacation, but it's time to go to bed. No, I look like 4 episodes with her. Mom is in another room. And I was like, enough is enough. It's time to go to bed. Tell me what episode so that I could go to my room and finish up. It was like, daddy, right? No, you need to go to bed. And then we took off to go find mommy, because we needed mommy to weigh in on this. Here is daddy telling daughter, you need to go to bed. And we both took off to mommy to get mommy's approval that what I said was the law. When we roll up on mommy's flat out sleeping. And then we were like, you're supposed to take care of this. My daughter said these words: daddy, daddy said that I should go to bed. But everybody knows that you're the real boss in the house. So what should I do?
Oh my.
Here is the deal.
Talk.
When you get to a place where you're okay with that fact, I think you're kind of running some line through the man laws you've been growing up.
Yeah.
Man, the man wear the pants in the house. Me a man in here, and so no dog bark when I speak.
Yep.
My daughter said, mommy, you're the real boss. It's just a given, so you decide what we're doing.
Wow, my God.
And me like the man in the house, I said, yeah, wife, what you with me on this? So at the end of the day, it's trying to create a happy home and being okay with your role in the home.
Yes.
Listen, man.
That in and of itself is something that you have to learn, right? Like that's
a lot right there.
And right? Those of you of West Indian descent, right? You're talking about some of the things that we have to unlearn, right?
Oh my word!
As it relates to what the role of a man is in the family and in the household, that in and of itself is a whole nother conversation.
Can we have it? Can we have it?
Implications.
Stevie, like, let's go.
No, we got no, because I'm that. This is my take on that, and this is just me. At 64 years old, hindsight being 2020. When we hear this thing, a happy wife is a happy life. That's a lie.
That's a lie.
And the reason I say that is this. The reason I say that is this. If you as the man are doing everything you can to make sure your wife is happy, and she doesn't become happy, what do you atypically do? You find somebody else that if you did the same thing for, they would be happy with it. Right? And so you end up having an affair like I did. I took the adage, a happy wife is a happy life. I did everything I could to make her happy. She wasn't happy. I found somebody else to be happy with.
Wow.
Meaning this is that at the end of the day, I told my second wife this: look, my job isn't to make you happy, but this is what I promise you I will do. I will make the environment conducive for you to make the decision to be happy in it.
Yes.
Amen.
That's the pivotal.
That was it.
You create the environment.
That's it. That's all I was have to do.
Yeah.
So when we say a happy wife is a happy life, that's really a lie. And we acquiesce and we yield to that, realizing because not only is you trying to make the work to make her happy, but her focus is now on the children if you have children.
Right.
She says this: look, I'll do anything for my children, but she doesn't say it to you anymore. I'll die for my children, but she doesn't say it to you anymore.
Wow.
And so when the kids leave, she leaves because her whole life was wrapped in her kids.
Right.
Hey.
Anyone who depend on you for their happiness, then your relationship is in free fall.
But we say this thing over and over until it becomes truth.
Right.
And we try to measure up to that standard, realizing that we know it's a lie, but we're still trying to hold that bar up over the truth. So I desubscribed to that, and my wife is ecstatic. You can ask Ollie.
Me too, brother.
But at the end of the day, she's not happier than me.
There you go. Yeah, man. Listen, wow. Let me. I'm shifting gears a little bit. Man, can we just take a second? I know we clapped it up for him.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm as someone who has a couple books in him that just can't seem to get it out. I am just ecstatic.
Yes,
bro.
sir. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yo, oh dog.
Yep.
In all seriousness, fam.
Yep.
Thank you.
Like, please hold that thing up again. Please hold that thing
Yes.
up.
Yes.
Please hold that thing up again.
And give us a link because I'm sharing.
Ollie,
Can you sign copy?
So
here's
full
wow.
screen, Ollie?
Do full screen of you, just you. Just you.
Yeah, just you and the book. We don't want to be here. This is about you.
Be in the book.
You in the book.
There it is.
Yeah, throw up that book.
Look at you, oh.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it right there. That's it right there.
Seriously.
Strut, brother.
So here's the
Strut.
thing, right? I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you to those in the comments. I saw you guys in the comments who said something in the comments. I am for the folk that are on that have been watching this, and I'll keep it up for about maybe 48 hours or so. I put a link for those of you watching on YouTube. I also put a link for those of you watching on Facebook. I'll make sure that the link is in all of the areas where I'm going live. If you purchase it in that link, the book is $14.99. But for those of you who use that link, you will get it for $7.50. But you got to get it between now and Wednesday. I'll make it Wednesday. After that, you will have to go to Amazon and to all of the ebook outlets to get that. Now, the good thing about getting it $7.50 now through this link is that I will sign all those copies.
Oh wow!
Oh, cool.
I will sign all of those copies that you purchased through that link. I will sign those copies.
So Ollie, I know I'm interrupting here, and I apologize for that.
You're good.
I know I'm out of order, but
you're good.
I would like to buy the book at regular price.
Okay.
And get a signed copy. Is that okay?
Yes.
That's perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay? I'm hoping that
we're gonna sew into you.
Yeah. I'd like to buy it at regular price. Okay.
I'm trying to buy mine right now a regular price.
Yeah.
bro.
And anybody that can't get it at regular price right now, I will buy you one.
Hey, as a matter of fact, what I'll do, Ali, if you don't mind, I will purchase 2 and I will gift someone a copy.
That's what I'm going to do.
Man.
We seen it. We seen it raise.
That's it.
That's what we doing. We seen it.
That's it. That's it.
I'm buying 3. What you say? I'm buying 3.
Hey, Ollie.
I'll see your 3 and raise your 10, right?
I host a men's group every Monday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so what I'll do is you can give me the link. I will share it with those brothers on tomorrow night.
Yes.
And to make sure that they
phenomenal
to buy this. So So just shoot it to me. I'll put it up on a Zoom link tomorrow night when we're talking to the guys.
I need to start a men's group, and when I do, I'll put it on there.
Listen.
And you know what's crazy about you saying the men's group? I didn't really talk about the dynamics of the book, but what I did was I went through. I took those five unwritten man laws that we talked about. Some of them that we talked about. And what I did was I broke them down into 8 pillars that I think are some things that we really need to be honing in on as men, as it relates to relationships, as it relates to trust, as it relates to faith, as it relates to mental stamina, which is how we're going to close this conversation, as it relates to respect and the people that we looked up to, and the whole components between observation and training, execution, and feedback. But at the end of the book, there are 2 application sections that are designed specifically for men's groups. So it takes you through some questions as it relates to all of the 8 pillars and the 5 unwritten man laws. It takes you through some questions. It takes you through some assessments that you should be making, some commitments that you should be making as men. And those are things that you can do in your men's group that you can use. Guys can take it, use the questions to facilitate their personal men's groups. And so you have those 2 application sections in the back, because I didn't want to, because this is a journey. I'm literally on this journey. Like I'm not writing about something I've mastered. I'm literally on this journey. And somebody mentioned something about hindsight 2020 in the book. In the beginning, I dedicated to 3 individuals. There's a special dedication to the late Dr. Anthony Kelly, who just I love that, and I know that if he was here, he would be gushing over this. The fact that I've gotten to this place in my life where I could do something like that, mature to that place, because he saw me at my most immature, and so to see me at this place, I know for him would have been like crazy. But the two types of people are people like my son. So my son is 17. And what I say in that dedication is, may you find 2020 before hindsight.
Come on.
That's good. That's good.
Come on.
That's good. That's good.
Because I didn't find 2020.
Wow.
It was hindsight. I'm living in hindsight right now. I'm backtracking.
Wow.
On so many things.
Yeah.
T-shirt.
Wow.
And so to
right.
So to get to 2020 before hindsight is a blessing that I don't even understand.
Come on.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's what this whole thing is about, man. And that's I just wanted to kind of pour out what I was, what I've gotten thus far.
My goodness.
Hashtag 2020 before hindsight.
Yeah.
Can I get that? I want to put my T-shirt order in.
Yo.
Hey, work. I do.
Yeah.
When you would say T-shirts, you know what? I need to go ahead and do that because I have the Overcoming the Man Law T-shirt. It's at denali.org/shop. But yeah, I need to add the 2020 on there.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Now, man, no, Ali, I see the course on Kajabi or Kartra or whatever. I see the course.
Yeah,
I
man.
see the hashtag. I see the merch. I see the public speaking circuit. I see the bro.
Yes, I see the conference.
Whole workshop.
Whole
workshop.
I see it, bro.
I saw Pierre say about the podcast. That's already in the works, so we got to talk.
That's good.
Let's go out,
man.
It's already in the works.
So Ollie and guys, I'm gonna bow out. Ollie, I thank you for being on the journey. Real moment of transparency on the World Wide Web. I reached out to you and have been on this journey with you for a little bit, and Denise. So when I talk to you and Denise, and you've been there for me in some of those confused times. I'm now rolling up on 22 years of marriage, and I promise you, I feel like it's day one because I like you, like you just shared. I'm now learning this thing. So 22 years mean nothing. I caught up with someone who, could be my mother today, and she said, you only made the commitment for 16 years. I was like, what do you mean? She said, well, for better, for worse, for sicker, for poorer. That's 4 4s are 16. So you're 22 years. Right now you on a year-by-year contract because your 16 years is expired. I was like, that is crazy. But I feel like I just walked down the aisle trying to understand what this is about. And I'm happy that we're on this journey. And God bless you on this journey because you need to be there for brothers like me. In fact, every one of you, because I'm coming to really appreciate brotherhood. I'm coming to get a taste of what it could look like, and even from a biblical perspective, what we're called to do. So God bless you all on this journey. I'm the fly on the wall, trying to implement as best as I could. So enough respect.
DT, man, I love you, bro.
Love you too, sir. Whoa. Blessings, gentlemen.
Blessings, man.
We'll catch up after this.
All right,
man.
That's
yeah,
bro.
Yeah,
good
man.
Stuff, man. Good stuff.
I appreciate it. So yeah, that this conversation is the backdrop for that announcement, and I want to, like I said, we can talk as long as y'all want. I'll stay on until the last person the last person drops off. But I do want to. For those who are watching, I want to cap what we were talking about with this, and I want you guys to speak to this. There are so many things like this Stevie talked about, he sent me an email just talking about the lifetime that it would take to unpack some of these things, right, that we've talked about, that we've just mentioned briefly. But walking that path to get to that place takes a level of mental stamina that I don't believe many of us have taken the time to engage in the process to create that level of mental stamina, right? And so as it relates to mental stamina and what it takes to unlearn and relearn and be comfortable with who you are and be the person that can be observed, or to be the observer, or to do all of these things that we've talked about. There's so much that weighs on our shoulders as men. It takes a level of mental stamina that I believe is crucial to the success of completing this. So talk about this as we kind of cap this conversation. What are, in your mind, some practical ways that you can develop the level of mental stamina that it takes to walk this path called manhood? Anybody can jump in on that. It's a free fall.
Create a team.
Create a team.
Mm-hmm.
Get you a group of real,
Mm-hmm.
transparent, emotionally expressive, even if they don't know how to necessarily control it. Somebody who can express what it is that they feel. Because I feel like every time I get in a room full of men who have a relationship with God, who deal with the same things I deal with, and we're able to talk to each other and talk through these issues, it better prepares me to navigate the next steps in my own journey. It helps me with my stamina to know that it's not just me running, but that we are all together in it. And just like anybody who plays a team sport, I have a role to play on that team, but I have also the responsibility to individually work on my skill set, my ability to tell how effective that work has been shows when I get back with my team. So I think one of the biggest ways that I do it is to really remain as transparent as possible with people that I trust, who can relate to my dealings, and who I can really know will go to bat for me with the man upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having that crew is crucial.
Yeah.
Crucial.
Yes.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
I think for me, and I use this for my own self, I said, a man who's not accountable to anybody is a danger to everybody.
I'm still in that too.
And so, and so I make sure that I have an accountability partner in my life, not someone who's just like me, but someone who is opposite of me, because he brings balance to me.
Yeah.
So somebody who may be a little more introverted than I am, or someone he's just where I'm weak, he is strong.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm able to find that person because, again, he's countering me. So iron sharpening iron, meaning that we go contrary to one another.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we're brothers in Christ. And so we walk this thing out together.
Amen.
So I make sure I have an accountability partner in my life who is maybe not necessarily my peer, but somebody a little bit above me. Because he always causes me to reach a little higher.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing that keeps me mentally stimulated and keeps my mind, gives me mental stamina.
I love that you said
to do this walk.
There's a piece in the book that I talk about the need for and the need to be relates to accountability partners.
I will recommend doing a resource audit, and that comes from the perspective of, okay, what do I, in the course of my week or my life, what are the shows I watch? What are the books I read? What are the types of things that I search on social media? Those types of things, because those are going to inform, as you do that audit and you say, okay, this is what I'm watching and this is what I'm searching and this is what I'm watching on YouTube, and then assessing how is that actually impacting? Is it adding? Am I able to leverage that to add to becoming a better man and how I've characterized it, or is it in small ways pulling away at the foundation of what I need to be a better man? So take that audit and be honest with yourself. And what are you taking in through your eyes and your ears? How is that impacting your journey?
That's good,
man. So when I think, go ahead, Kev.
All right, so I just want to actually piggyback off of that. I think that a piece of what Pierre said, what Stevie said, goes to what I think worked for me was really just that honesty piece, like being honest with yourself. I think that stamina begins with looking at yourself and saying, I'm messed up. I'm dirty, I'm this, I'm that, whatever it is, just say what you are honestly. And then realize that, hey, this is a point where I need to begin to start taking that self inventory, of me, and saying, hey, what am I putting out? And as far as, that emotional thing, I think it really is the big thing. So for me, that mental stamina, when I hit what I call my rock bottom, as it were, it was a thing where I looked at myself in the mirror and I literally, and this is not a figure of speech, I literally didn't recognize who was looking back at me.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I was scared. All
Wow.
right. I was seriously scared because it was literally like being outside of yourself. And so at that point, I said, hey, you got to take stock, dude. Like, yeah, this has happened to you. She did this. They said that, this, that, and the other. Put you through all this, that, but you got to take stock of you. Be honest with yourself. Take that personal inventory. And that's where my mental stamina and the practice of accepting me and going through that stuff began.
Man.
And that old adage of God
Man.
won't give you more than you can bear. So what you can't handle, do not allow yourself to try to take on.
Yeah.
Listen.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
That's
I,
good.
I would come at the thing from a slightly different vantage point. I think everything that's been said is phenomenal. But a lot of times when I need a mental recharge, and it might sound counterintuitive, but it is, I get it from affirming someone else. So
That's good.
for me, I will seek out, I will seek somebody out, and just be like, you know what, man, I need to touch base with so and so. Can I pause here and just say that God speaks to us to reach out to that so and so from time to time, and a lot of times we're not listening. So a lot of times we were too busy. A lot of times we shrug it off. A lot of times and you have no idea what that so and so is going through and how they
Yeah.
may
Moment.
need that affirmation at that moment. And so
Yeah.
this is a practice that I have developed. I'm looking around the screen, and some of you have received those calls from me, and some of you have called me to deliver some affirmation for me as well. But I mean, I can tell you, being on the receiving end of that, a good friend of mine, Leslie Samuel, called me just a couple weeks ago. Just called me in the middle of his day. He was literally going from one meeting to the next, and he's like, "I just want to let you know you're doing it, man. You're crashing those doors. You're doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
You have no, man, fam. You have no. I needed that thing at that moment. I
Yeah.
needed that thing." And I don't know if he's going to see this. I'm hoping to see him next week. But
Shout out to
I
Leslie Samuel.
needed that thing. So the ministry of affirmation, and what it does for the person who is affirming, and what it does for the person who's being affirmed, and that in terms of mental stamina, I really believe, because sometimes you just put one foot in front of the other. You don't have any, yeah, you take stock, but it's it's a sounding board. You're just talking to yourself sometimes. But to hear from somebody else's perspective, hey man, when you did this, and I was watching. Or when you did this, man, it kind of fell flat. But I think if you were to do this or this or this, constructive criticism. I mean, having that sounding board. I mean, some of it kind of piggybacks on some of the pieces that were shared as well. I know my man talked about having a crew, and sometimes it's in the safety of that crew that you can get that feedback that you really need. Sometimes it's affirmation. Right? Sometimes it's a swift kick. Okay? Sometimes it's a swift kick. Like, what are you doing? Being on this panel today, for me, is a swift kick. Because I'm looking at my man, Ali. Hold that book up again, Doc. I'm looking at my man, Ali, and I'm saying to myself, dog, I mean, my joint is just, wireframe. I got a couple of, bruh. And my man got the finished product. And I see Pierre over there, two down.
Pierre got
20 to go. You know what I'm saying? So I sometimes it's a swift kick in terms of mental stamina, in terms of continuing on the path, in terms of, but when we talk about iron sharpens iron, and my man, Mercy, Stevie said this earlier, yes, sometimes it's the contrast of personalities between you and this other person that's sharpening, but it also can be just a different perspective of looking at the same scenario. Barbers talk about, when you're trying to get that blend in, we all barbers now because of the COVID. But we're trying to get that blend in. One of the barbers I follow on YouTube, he says, man, sometimes you just gotta turn the clippers off and go and look at a different part of the head, and then come back to it And when you come back to it, you can see where, oh, it needs a little more work. It needs a little more blend. Sometimes you're just looking at it from a different perspective, a different pair of eyes can give you what you need to have the mental stamina to keep moving.
Well, can I say this, Ollie, real quick?
Absolutely, man.
We were talking about affirmations, and affirmations set expectations.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you affirm me, now
yes, it does.
you tell me what you expect of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that raises not only my bar, but it sets the standard for what's expected of me now. And I heard somebody say not too long ago, if I affirm you publicly, that means I can correct you publicly. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I think we all want to be affirmed, but understanding with that affirmation comes an expectation.
It sure does. You're right.
And anything less than that is unacceptable.
Yeah, I think one of the things to piggyback on that as well, that swift kick oftentimes is an affirmation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You set a bar.
Mm-hmm.
You set a bar. Why are you not doing what you know you're supposed to do?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Right? Because had I not the quality that I expect from you, what you're doing wouldn't disappoint.
There you go.
Right? So affirmation comes both ways. Either I know you're capable and you're not doing it, or man, you're exactly capable and you're doing it.
Absolutely.
It's got to be said from a place of love. As long as it's from a place of love, it's always going to be constructive.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you correct me without love, it leads to condemnation.
It does.
Correct.
It does.
So when you correct me, do it with love, and it brings about conviction.
And can I just add in there, Doc, relationship? So love and relationship. If I don't have a relationship with you, I don't have love with you. I know I know the two go hand in hand, but I'm saying out of the relationship and the shared experiences that we have, that's where you can correct. That's where you can be constructive. Right. But if you don't have either, you don't have any business.
Right. You don't have
Then you're just complaining.
You don't have a forum, right, to stand on. Man, listen, guys.
Yeah.
So, before I say what I was going to say, Holly brought up a question, and I'll throw it up. I'll throw it up again. And Holly, I'd like to let you know that I am committed to doing that, because this is not about. This is about men. Yeah. This is not about a specific group of men or a specific segment of the population of men, right? So we're not talking about men in the church and men outside of the church and men who are married and men who are single. We're talking about men. And what I tried to do with this book is that I tried to incorporate, but not at the expense of alienation. So sometimes we try to incorporate everybody, but in that incorporation, we're really calling out folk. And I wanted to make sure that was not what I was doing. This book is for men. So you can use it in your church youth, in your church men's group. You can use it in your 12-step program. I mean, it is all encompassing. And so to answer Holly's question, there are some things that I am working on personally as it relates to some of the relationships that I am developing with individuals in various facets of the community in various places that will allow this type of message, these types of conversations to be accessible, period, for men, period. Yeah. Not for men in the church, not for a certain segment of men, but for men in general. So I just wanted to just shout out Holly, because Holly has a lot of things going on that incorporate men in general. And so Holly, you and I will be talking about that as well. I believe that you and I, Holly, have part of the answer to your own question. So that's good stuff. Guys.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
This was gold for me, period. I'm not even going to try to, I'm not even going to try to be eloquent about it. It was gold. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the guys that jumped on, Dave Turner, Dr. R, Dr. Bryson, Jimmy Rogers, and Ed Smith. I appreciate all of you for what you have done, because you you've poured into me, right? We've talked about some things that come directly out of this this little bit of material that I've put together. But you all have expanded it in a way that I know was beneficial to those who are watching and was beneficial to me. Because this is like a piece of my journey, right?
Yeah,
so
man.
I'm sure that there will be another piece that comes after this that I can talk about. Hey, do you remember the things that I mentioned in overcoming the man laws?
Come on, bro.
Now I'm here. Get in the car with me here. If you haven't been in the car with me at this point, get in the car now. Let's keep going because it is a journey that we are on.
Right.
It is not a destination that we are. Well, let me put it this way. Yes, we are looking for a destination, right? We have goals in mind. We have visions in mind, right? But it's a learning process. It's a process that is ever expanding, that is always in need of adjustment, that is never devoid of learning. So those things have to happen, and they have to happen consistently and constantly throughout this journey. So I thank you guys for what you have lent to this time, man. And it's been a very special time for me. You know, I'm excited about the book.
Yo.
And,
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations.
I'm proud
Thank you
of
for
you, man.
allowing us to
I'm
share
proud
this
of
time.
you.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
man.
It feels special to know that on this particular day when you are making known that your publication is finished, and I'm part of this panel. So
Right.
I thank
Yeah.
you, brother.
Showed
You thought
me.
enough of me
Yeah.
to let me be part of this this awakening.
Oh yeah.
And to the brothers on the panel, and to all of you guys, man, I thank God for you guys. It's always reassuring when you see people that look like you, that think like you, that have a heart like you. You know, compassion means to suffer alongside.
Yes.
And to know that there are brothers that have compassion, that are willing to suffer alongside one is encouraging and enriching. And so I thank you, brothers, for this time, and it really means a lot to me. You just don't know.
Likewise.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
no.
it. And listen, I'm one of the unwritten man laws that I've learned over the years is that it's not about me. With that being said, everyone on the screen right now is a speaker. Some are authors. We got a CIO on the screen. We got 2 CIOs on the screen. We got some heavy hitters on the screen. So starting with Stevie, we need to know how we can get a hold of you, how we can book folk to speak. Stevie is a phenomenal speaker. Everybody's a speaker on this panel. So I want to take a moment for you guys to. I'm gonna steal a page out of Kirk's book.
Hey, man.
Hey, yeah.
Try to get a chance to plug their hustle.
Plug it.
Start
I
with
love
Stevie. We'll go around the room.
2 ways. I own a company called Too Clean Auto Detailing Incorporated. I've been in business for 21 years. So you can reach me at Stevie, STEVIE 0888 at the number 2cleanauto.com. Or you can reach me at Stevie0888 at gmail.com. So yeah, man, I would love to have you guys on a Monday night. I've been hosting a Man Up meeting every Monday night for 12 years. So we have guys from Vegas to New Orleans to Florida to Georgia to North Carolina on a call every Monday night. So if you guys are interested in being part of the conversation and we talk about things like this, I'd be more than willing to have you guys in and be part of the dialogue.
Give me that email address one more time.
Stevie, STEVIE.
I'm putting it on my son's thing. Hold on.
STEVIE 0888 at gmail.com.
Right.
Or you can call me directly at 571-239-9636. I'd love to hear from you, man, because I love to talk to you.
For sure. All right.
I'm always doing something. I'm always doing
Don't-
something, man. So don't you
Don't
be surprised.
when that phone ring.
Tap you in a minute.
All right.
That'll work.
That's what's up.
Yeah, Quinn.
Man. Yes, it's been a pleasure, Ali, being a part of this conversation. Jabron, seeing that whiteboard behind you, just, you know, we kindred spirits with the whiteboard. Man. So yeah, I'm in the leadership development space. As I mentioned before, I'm all about emerging leaders who are sitting in the seat of responsibility for the first time, are trying to make the connection between their head and their heart and overcome the fear of the scared little kid that's telling them that they can't do it. So you can follow me. The best place to catch up with me is PierreCQuinn.com, pierrecquinn.com.
Hold, please.
I love this guy. I love this guy. Oh,
One
man.
in or two?
Two ends.
Two
All
ends.
right, word.
Pierre is a
Done.
beast, man. Pierre, you are a beast, sir. Brand positioning. I love it.
Shout out to RK3. RK3 is another heavy hitter. And we will definitely get you on the next one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought it was okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, my turn. Oh, mine's simple. I don't do much. I'm an occasional panelist on certain conversations, whether it be empowering women to be in positions and expanding their brand. I have a podcast. I have discontinued it for now because my co-host moved to New York, and then and I'm going to probably start that back up. But outside of that, I am a daddy, and I work IT for a pretty large company that I really enjoy so far. Oh, you know what's up.
I know what's up.
However, being in a space with men that are of high quality, I need y'all to contact me because I need some leadership stuff, and I might start a car business now. So my email address is Gibran is GIBRAN .WHIT1 @gmail.com. This is on the World Wide Web, so I'm gonna send my actual number on the private chat. But I need to hear from brothers like you and stay in contact with me, because what I'm seeing is making it obvious that I need to make my voice a little louder, and I need to really connect with brothers who are doing things that are bigger than what I like, playing the role, being there.
Listen,
so
that's what's up, Doc.
Hey, I will make sure make sure I'll put something together that I can get out to everybody. So I will.
Gibran, you on IG?
Circle.
I am. I'm a little
put in the private chat.
I see that too. All right, cool.
Yeah, private chat.
Just let y'all know I'm crazy. Just know that. That's all I'm saying. But I'll give you all my information.
I told some of the guys before. I said this dude is a thinker, man. Like he processes things. Like he processes. He's good at it. So yeah, hit him up. Kev Scott, my man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Once again, like everybody said, man, this has been a wow whirlwind to be a part of this, and I'm proud of you. We had a lot of conversations as you were building up to this, and just really thank you for having me. I can be found mostly on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com/n/Kevin Scott IT Pro. A lot of people know I'm one of those IT people. I'm weird. I don't like Facebook. I have it. I don't use it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm usually not there. I actually work within like O said, I'm a CIO. It's kind of a recent thing. Kirk and I kind of battle with stuff back and forth as far as credentials.
Come on, bro.
Who does what when? But he actually was a sitting CIO before me, but I did go get my master's and some other stuff first.
Yes, he did. This is one of those things that we talk about in terms of sharpening one another. Like,
yes, indeed.
I talked to Kevin. I was like, "Yo, you got this the Scrum Master joint?" He's like, "Yeah, bet you need to do this." He's like, "All right, cool." Then he went and got the PMP. I'm like, yeah, bro. I'm excited for you, Kev.
Yeah,
that's next on my list too.
That. Yeah, but I also started my own consultancy. So I still work, corporately. Well, looking for work right now, but on LinkedIn as well as Scott Avery Infotech. And most of the areas I consult in within program management, project management, IT leadership, and organizational development.
We got to
chat. Areas I work in. So
we definitely got to chat.
That's where I'm at.
So the bottom half of this screen, Gibran, just so you know, the bottom half of this screen. Like we're gonna all connect, but the three of you speak the same language.
Yeah.
We do. I could tell just by what you just said.
And looking at two former CIO because he's doing his own thing.
Doing my own thing now.
Second. Yeah. Another CIO doing consulting. Brian is in the same field.
Okay.
So
we gonna
connect right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So real quick, Kevin.Scott.itpro@gmail.com. or also kevin.scott@scottavery.consulting.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Coolio and Mr. Nugent. How it all work?
Yeah. So, okay. My
He
name is
probably
Kirk
got a
Nugent.
video trailer to
Have
with
mercy.
all
Have
this
mercy.
information on.
My name is Kirk Nugent, and I help people understand their relationship to technology at home for their families and at work for career success. You can find me at kirknugentspeaks.com. I'm putting that up on the screen. Ali, I don't know if you can make it a little bigger for folks. You can find me at kirknugentspeaks.com. I do media consulting. My wife does web design, and so and under her business and under her brand, which is yourcomposition.com, that's another space that we play in. And what I would like for everybody to do, I mean, I don't know how we could do this, but I'd like for everybody to check us out on Monday. I have a show called How It All Works. It's on Monday at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3:30 in the West. And this coming Monday, I mean, we talk about everything on there, fam. I mean, we talk about some of everything, but mainly I try to stay in the lane of media, technology, and leadership. And so this coming Monday, I've got a panel of education leaders. You're going to like this one, Kev. Hold up. I clicked on the wrong thing. Here we go. So I got a panel of education leaders. Robert Henley from Forest Lake Academy. He's the Innovation Center Coordinator for Florida. Bill Wolfer, who is also heading up innovation at Kevin.
Yeah,
I see you laughing. Bill Wolfer is the chair for the computer science department, and also leads up innovation. Michael Berman is the CIO for the California State University system. I want to be clear, not for one of the colleges. There are over 30. He is the CIO for the system. Michael Cato is the CIO for Bowdoin College. And Kimberly Marshall was former CIO here in Huntsville at Alabama A&M. She is currently CIO at Morehouse College. And so we're going to have a real good time tomorrow chatting it up, talking about education technology. And I would love for you guys to come check us out. 5:30 tomorrow. That's the panel. You see it there. And for my Andrews heads, if the name Cato sounds familiar, you remember Marsha? That's her older brother. That's Marsha Cato's older brother. He's an IT head. Mike, yeah, Michael Cato.
Remember Mike? Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
so
this guy Kirk puts together, like, if you got to go back and catch the others too, because
man,
panels are nuts.
Yeah,
the panels are crazy every Monday. Like,
hey, Ollie, is there any way you can send that stuff out to each one of us, Ollie?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
I will work on that tonight. I'll get everybody's contact info. I'll put it in a form and out to everybody.
You know, if you go in the private chat right now, How It All Works with the E. I'm putting that in there right now. Cool. You're gonna find pretty much everything from me.
Yeah, you'll find everything
off that one link. HowItAllWorks.com. Okay, cool. Works is spelled with an E.
I'll put together a Google Doc. I'll invite all you guys to it. Throw everything in there.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
listen,
man.
I appreciate you. I know it's been a good chunk of your Sunday afternoon. I want you able to get to your families and get to the things that you need to get done. But listen, I do not take it lightly that you spent this time with me. I appreciate you all. For those of you that are watching, I urge you to connect with all of these gentlemen. I also urge you to get the book. Look for some things that are going to be happening as it relates to the book. You will see a lot of me this week, so don't get tired. Just be like, okay, I need to get it. I need to go in and get the book.
Oh, we gonna
get it.
I'm going to get that book. Put it in the Google Doc.
Yes, we'll do.
Yeah, that link. Yes, I will be buying that.
Man, listen, guys, I want to end this in kind of an unorthodox way, right? Yeah. I just said that this is all inclusive, and it is. But I think the ending is also all inclusive, although we sometimes relegate it to a specific group of people. I would just ask that, Quinn, that you just say a quick 30-second prayer to wrap this up, to put us in a place of expectancy as it relates to how successfully we navigate through this thing called manhood. And then we're done.
Yeah.
I love it.
Let's pray together. Lord, we are so grateful that you've allowed us to gather together in this way. We are grateful for the miracle, the blessing of technology. And God, we don't know who's watching live or who's watching the replay of this. And this conversation for them has been a word in due season for whatever they're struggling with. Some of us, it's a group of men who are watching and trying to figure out how to navigate the man laws. For some, it's a mom, it's a wife, it's a girlfriend who is trying to get some guidance and direction for the men in her life. So God, I thank you for everything that you've put inside of Ali, how you continue to pour into him and put him and Denise in a place to pour into other people. So I pray, God, that whatever they need emotionally, whatever they need socially, whatever they need financially, but more over whatever they need spiritually, that you pour it out without measure. And give them added opportunities to share their relationship with you, with other people who are also searching. And as we've had this transparent conversation about manhood, God, we realize that there's so much that we don't know, so many different perspectives, God, even opinions. So if we've spoken in error in any way, we ask, Holy Spirit, that you make the correction
even now.
so that proper guidance can be found. And God, the areas of our life that even those of us who are on this panel or even who have been on during the course of our 2.5 hours together, the sections of our lives that we still struggle to turn over to you, we are asking, God, that we believe, but help our unbelief. God, we ask for forgiveness for the times in which we were just silly. And now we're walking in grace and mercy, but there are some people who we have led astray by our silliness who are still struggling. So I pray, God, that your grace is sufficient for them as well. Give us another opportunity to be the men that you've called us to be, and help us to continue to dispel man laws so that others can see what it means to be men after your heart.
Amen.
We thank you and we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And amen.
Amen.
Thank you, brothers.
Stuff, man. This was good stuff, man. If you guys could give me 30 seconds after I say goodnight to everybody. But this was good, man. Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
I love each and every one of you. Like,
love you, bro.
Crazy.
We love you,
man.
too. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your moment.
Man,
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
It means a lot.
It means a lot.
Means
I
a lot.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And for those who may have been coming on at the end, that moment that they're referring to is overcoming the man laws for the man who wants to be his best, despite what he was taught. That is the book that God has given me for this specific time, and I hope that you guys will go ahead and grab that. All right. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you guys so much for watching. Gentlemen, stay on for a second so I can wrap some things up with you guys.
Yeah, sure.
We'll be off in just one moment.